means you're the executive producer of the religion business. You're hating on the church. Well, first of all, what is a church?
They have an estimated net assets of $265 billion.
People need to know how that money's being spent. How does one know they're not getting duped by their pastor? I can completely manipulate you. You don't have to tell anybody anything. What can go wrong?
Are we official now? Are we official? This week on the Wild Chaos Podcast.
From an investigator standpoint, you're looking at what drives this machine. And what drives a machine so often is tithes.
Tithing is a test. He gave his son, and you want to argue about 10%.
We've got about 1.8 million nonprofits registered with the IRS today. Over $4 trillion in assets.
You have the for-profit world, you have the nonprofit world, and inside that nonprofit world, you have religious nonprofits or churches.
How do you stop people from taking the money out of the organization to the people who are controlling it?
Greetings, Father. I've come to request an indulgence for my mother.
Within the church, is tithing voluntary or is it compulsory? Does a 990 tell you how much equipment they have?
They have $111 million worth of aircraft.
We do not want this church or any other church destroyed or intimidated by the government.
Yo, buddy.
Got a text message from a mega church pastor out of Minnesota.
Mac would be interested in sitting down with us and having a conversation.
That's huge. We'll drop everything and fly up to him.
An informant brought revival capital of the world to our attention.
They have an estimated net assets of $265 billion.
I have a question for you, actually.
No, we're not going to answer your question.
No, my question is...
No, you answer our question.
Where is Wisdom Heights?
See, I need to go.
Whoa, did you just flash your gun?
Hey, Lauren. We might be having a rescue. She needs safety for the daughter. The daughter is not safe.
So people are donating, and it's going to silence a rapist.
Did he have HIV?
I'm pushing away. I mean, I'm trying to hold on to my dress.
He told me not to tell anyone, especially my husband.
Hi, my name is Nathan Apfel. I just had questions pertaining to housing allowance and also his salary. And then also, we heard that was ordained and also takes a housing allowance. How was the sermon? You are being detained.
Separation of church and state is just a recipe for churches to be a potential for fraud.
Okay. Chris Ayyub, right?
Yes, sir.
I feel like I'm saying that wrong. I'm saying
So the English pronunciation is Ayyub. The Arabic pronunciation is Ayoub.
Ayyub.
Yeah. So Ayoub.
What's
Ayoub.
your ethnicity? I'm
Lebanese.
Trying to okay.
Yeah,
And
Lebanese
what?
and Puerto Rican.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I don't really look like either, but yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to figure it out. So especially with a last name like that, I could usually put people geographically off of.
My mom's ancestors come from Spain, so Puerto Rico, you're either African American, Native American, Spanish mainly, or a mix of the three. So it's predominantly Spanish, and then on my dad's side, his ancestors come from Turkey, Armenia, Old Mesopotamia.
When did your parents migrate here?
They did. They both went to college, ended up meeting in college in North Texas.
Wasn't there a huge civil war?
There was.
Dad, was that before your parents left or your dad left?
So they graduated from college in the early 70s. Then they moved back to Lebanon. And then my dad and mom moved to United Arab Emirates. They had my brother in Lebanon. They had my sister in the UAE. And then my mom was visiting, and like the Civil War broke out literally while my mom was at the airport, and then everything went crazy. And then we come from a long lineage of Christianity.
Okay.
And so my dad's grandfather was one of the founders of like the Christian army in Lebanon.
No kidding.
In that war. And then his uncle, I used to watch him on CNN. He was the right hand to Michelle Aoun, who's now the president, or I believe he's still the president. I mean, he's an older dude now, but he was a general, and so I'd always see him on like CNN and stuff like that growing up.
Interesting.
Which is one of my inspirations for going into the military, because I was like, my dad loved America. He loves America, still does, and freedom isn't free, and that concept. And then, you know, just like you, bro, like I imagine you look back at some of these wars that we've been involved with and are involved in, and you're like, what on earth, what were we doing there?
Man, we drank the Kool-Aid for a little bit.
I drank the Kool-Aid.
All right. I never normally read anybody's intro. I just try to, hit the facts, but you've accomplished so much. I'm going to touch on just a few of them, and we're going to dive into this episode. Before we do, we're going to send you home with a fresh baked sourdough loaf. This is our Stinky Bee. It's actually an Asiago garlic and herbs. It started as a homeschool project for our youngest and as a family, and it ended up turning into a business. And now we ship bread all over the country. All of our fans and followers and listeners support the heck out of the kids.
You were quite the entrepreneur.
Try, man. I can't ever
you're
go
not
back.
trying. You're doing it.
I can't go once you leave. There's no going back.
Yeah, I'm unemployable.
100%.
Yeah.
People don't understand that. That's my biggest fear: losing children and having to work for somebody again. That is what keeps me up at night.
And this we will fight for.
This is where and so. As a podcast, I'm like, man, why not plug my own kid's business and people can support, which they do, which is incredible. So the Sour Bee, then I'm going to send you home with some swag. I got you a Wild Chaos tee and a hat. And then this is he's a Navy vet, something we like to do different on the podcast, no matter how big we get.
Yeah.
I allow veteran and law enforcement, small businesses, and first responders to send us anything to be able to give to guests. So Chris is a local Navy vet. He went into, tried to be buds, ended up on the last phase of land nav, ended up getting really injured and dropped from the course. Now he has started Linear, which is an incredible lifestyle brand as far as fitness apparel, high-end, really high quality fitness.
Good for him. Some of those things wreck people when they don't make their dream.
Yeah,
they spiral. They
guys
spiral
have been
down
in
fast.
it their whole life, and that's what they've looked forward to is from children moving on. So yeah, we try to do something special for law enforcement, first responders, military, everybody, to give them a little bit of love back as we grow. I want to help others grow. So Chris, all right, I'm gonna just attempt to read some of your highlights of what you have accomplished. So first and foremost, you're a father.
I am,
and you were
all in
incredible Christian man of faith, which is I am all about as this podcast grows and we start getting going. Almost every one of our conversations somehow find its way back to God, to Christ, to religion, to faith, and how people have been in and out of it. So I want to highlight that because we're going to be talking a lot about that. So you were a graduate of the U.S. Air Force Academy. You were named Air Force Cadet of the Year, which is pretty incredible for people listening because that's a recognition from the Pentagon.
Yes.
You served as an officer in both the U.S. Air Force and Army. You deployed in Operation Iraqi Freedom. You've completed 64 combat missions. You were awarded Company Grad Officer of the Year, which is pretty awesome. I mean, especially as an officer, to be able to stand out. I'm an enlisted, so I have a different perspective. And I taught officers for a while, so
we were a little more political.
Yeah, very, very, and it rubbed off sometimes. You were ranked the #1 peer rating at Special Operations Civil Affairs selection. So you've accomplished quite a bit of things on the military side, and then you end up transitioning out, which you led a real estate startup to one of the first fully digital property closing companies in the U.S. I don't know if I said that right.
Yeah.
And so you've completed 20 mergers and acquisitions, so bringing a lot of companies together, which is a hell of an accomplishment. You are the co-founder of Broken Shepherd, which focuses on accountability in religious infrastructure, which is what we want to talk on today. And one of the most important things is what brought us here is you're the executive producer of The Religion Business.
Yes.
Which is blowing up. You guys are about to drop season 2 here in a couple of months, which is shifting gears toward kids. But this first season, it's a mini docu-series where you and your partner are now uncovering the business side of religion. And that's what caught my attention because as a baby Christian, a huge following, a huge amount of my followers and listeners are also in this uprising of young Christians, at least people that are God conscious.
Yeah.
And we have questions, we have doubts, we see things for differently than probably the boomer generation that believed everything that they were told. So now people are asking questions, and then here you guys come along. So before we dive into that, I just want to make it very clear. We're both Christians.
Yes.
This isn't an attack at church or churches.
Correct.
Because like we spoke about beforehand, my daughter is a huge role model in her church, and for youth, I'm a huge advocate in people going to church. But who I am, I have questions and I look at things differently. We went to, what was that concert we went to, the worship concert? Do you remember, kiddo? Elevation Worship.
Yeah, very familiar with them. Good.
I'm the type of Christian, sometimes I don't connect with a pastor, but I always connect with worship. That's my, that's how I connect. I can drive through the mountains, put on my worship, and I just, all comes out. We go to this concert, and this guy comes out, and my wife's looking, and she goes, that's a Cartier bracelet. That's a Cartier necklace. He also had some others, and we start looking this stuff up, and this dude's wearing $5-6 grand worth of jewelry on the stage. And in the middle of this worship, he stops the whole entire thing and goes into like this 30-minute ad for people to start donating, and it just killed it for me. We ended up I was like, I'm out. This is it. So these are the types of things I want to cover. So, Chris, we got a lot to talk about.
Let's go.
I'm really excited for this. Like we start every episode, who are you? Where are you from?
So, Chris Ayyub, born and raised in Dallas, Texas. I'm a father of 4. That's my number one ministry, are my kids. Follower of Christ, military veteran. I growing up understood like the concept of freedom isn't free. My dad is from Lebanon. I was sharing that with you, and they were in a civil war, like a religious war when I was growing up. And my godfather married how he became part of the family was he married my dad's aunt on the Lebanese side while he was on a mission in Lebanon. Okay. And so they became my godparents, and I was going to all the military installations with him, and he was a very unique man. World War II, Korean War, and Vietnam War veteran.
Oh, wow.
Purple Heart, just a stud. One of the most decorated war veterans. And he really just mentored me a lot growing up. And I was like, I want to serve my country. So I went down that path. And then when I got injured in the Army, and I was like, okay, well, this part of my life is done. Like, what do I do? So I went and consulted at KPMG, and Walmart International was my client. So I had like little experience whatsoever. And I got dumped off in Bentonville, Arkansas. Okay. And Walmart just got hit with this massive fine because they bought a bunch of overseas companies, and in those cultures, you could pay off government officials.
Oh,
money under the table and such. But SEC, if you're a publicly traded company in the United States, that doesn't fly.
You're getting watched.
So they got smashed. So we got put into take a look at all their financial processes and implement new financial controls. So you can imagine this, like an Army dude coming out and doing that type of job. It was a great learning experience. And then I went and became the COO of a tech subsidiary of Old Republic International. And we were digitizing. When you look back at this point in time, this is 2013-ish, 2014-ish, where we're about 5 or 6 years removed from the great housing market crash, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like, hey, consumers need to know what they're signing up for and all that kind of stuff. Well, handing them 5,000 sheets of paper isn't helping. So we need to digitize this and make things clear. So the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau wanted to launch a digital closing pilot, and they were pushing to go that way and to get disclosures that way and for you to really know. So we were able to, in order to qualify, you had to have completed a digital closing before. So it was, a race to the finish line, if you will, to make sure we got that. So we got one of the first digital closings, got linked up at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and that company's off doing great things. I was at a Bible study, and I met the chairman and founder of this real estate management firm, HOA Management, which if anyone hasn't experienced HOA management, it is the wild, wild west. It is absolutely one of the hardest businesses to manage.
Why is that?
Because homeowners don't call your company and say, hey, guess what? The gate worked today. I just want to say thank you.
Oh, the guy, they got a boat in their front yard.
That's all. That's what you hear. The
Okay.
dogs, the boats,
Okay.
the loud neighbors, people parking their cars where they shouldn't park them, people not paying, people not doing their yards, all that kind of stuff. And then you're giving them citations.
Oh, yeah. I've gone rounds with HOA before.
You're telling them, hey, you're way past due. Hey, we're referring you to the attorney's office now. So it's not like there is some like, hey, yard of the month type stuff, right? But a lot of the dialogue is just not kind. And then a lot of HOAs, they hire you and the fees are low. Like HOA management companies, the biggest loss leader is the HOA management fee. You make your money off of closing transactions, collections, other types of one-off toll booths. You do not make your money on the bread and butter of the business, which is we're going to come, to your community twice a week. We're going to do the inspections. We're going to send citations out. We're going to be receiving your phone calls, receiving the money for you, paying your bills, giving you financial reports. It's very accounting intensive.
For sure.
And so they'll often be like, we pay you $1,000 a month. Why isn't your person here all the time? Like, and then just kind of as a commonsensical businessman, it's like, hey, let me break this down for you.
Which you are not.
We're paying an employee fully loaded $80K a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. You pay us $1,000 a month. Just the numbers don't work out. Like we have to stay in business.
Yeah.
You're a nonprofit. We're a for-profit. Like, so real challenging, but we did a lot of mergers and acquisitions and led that company to a merger with a PE firm and then had an opportunity from there. I got a little bit of a windfall, and that's where I said the same thing you said. Like, I'm done working for boards. I'm done working for people. I'm going to put money where God's telling me to put money. And this is at a point in my life where like I had just, I'd gone through a divorce with my kid's mom. I'm like, am I really walking with Christ? I think I'm living two different lives.
Okay.
And it was just this big wrestle and realization. And then you see your kids suffering. I have 4.
Yeah.
And I, at the time, single father, traveling 200 days a year, being the president of a company, doing major big deals, and 200 days a year, and I didn't have a nanny or anything.
Was it worth it?
Which part?
Running and gunning 200 days a year on the road, building multi-million-dollar businesses. When you look back on it now, was that worth it?
Yeah.
Okay. Why
and
is that?
The reason why it's worth it is because now it has put me, it like God takes everything and turns it into something beautiful.
Absolutely.
So I had this realization that my kids need me.
Okay.
So I can't be traveling 200 days a year working for a board and such. My kids need me. 2, it gave me the financial freedom to be able to pour into my children. I don't miss any of their events.
Yep.
I'm always there for them. We spend a lot of time together. And if it wasn't for that and the realizations, it's like my kids went through a lot through that divorce. And with me being traveling and work, I was being my top priority. That like now them seeing the changes within me, they know those changes came from me following Christ.
So you got out at the right moment. The reason I asked if it was worth it, because
I got out at the right moment. Yeah.
You got to exit because I feel the normal human mind. Okay, we're acquiring businesses, we're growing. I'm crushing, babe. I'm crushing. I can't step out now. And then before you know it, your kids are graduating, and then that's when the regret sets in.
100%.
Or I sacrificed it all for you guys. And that's what I wanted to see, because you got the beginning stages, and then you exited at the right time to be able to build that, and then now spend that time with your kids. So that was why I wanted to see how your mind is on.
Yeah. And the thing is, I've never been like, I'm actually kind of like, I've never been asked that question as many conversations I have. So I appreciate you asking that, because it really helps me process and go, yeah, like
good.
Absolutely. Then, I was looking at going into, mental health. I had struggled with my own stuff, and
you're looking at going and getting mental health taken care of yourself, or as far as business wise?
Business wise.
Okay.
So I had a contract on land in Utah and was going to build an adult transition facility in affiliation with Southern Utah University.
Okay.
This concept of they had this failure to launch where people just weren't growing up and they just wanted to stay home and play video games, and they were trying to figure that part out. And I was like, I'm all about that. And then there was this huge gap of parents that have just like, parents abdicate so many of their roles, which you get because you homeschool your kids. You're like, I'm done abdicating my roles out to every institution that's out there. So parents will often be like, my kids are doing drugs. My kids are doing this. My kids aren't behaving and all that. And it's like, well, you might be the problem, right? And so I really had to like have this realization, like, is this really what I want to go into? Do I want to go in there? Like, can you really help kids when their parents are still the problem?
No.
And the answer is you're enabling, and then you're making money off of that. And so that I just couldn't do that. And then I got introduced to this guy that he owned a software company in the HOA management space, and he was like, let's do business. We talked. I've been sober from alcohol for about 6 years.
Good for you.
Thanks, man. He literally was like a year behind me in that process.
Okay.
Right? Like he had quit and then all that. So we just had this bond. He was a follower of Christ as well too. And he goes, hey, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine. He's a 2-time Emmy award-winning filmmaker. And for about a decade, he's been doing research on this topic of religion business. And so I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. Well, he had done enough filming and had been self-funding this to a point where he could put a trailer and a pitch deck
And
together.
who is this?
Nathan Appel.
Nathan, your partner in
Yes.
the religion business now.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so immediately I met Nathan, and I was like, you just know, I'm like, this guy's a bro.
He looks like it. He just
is.
looks like a dude you'd cross on a boardwalk somewhere on a beach. He's just that dude with a longboard in his hand.
Total surfer.
Yeah, that's what he looks like.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
And so he needed capital, but like the thing he needed the most was a brother to be in the trenches with.
Okay.
This is not something you can do alone. You need somebody to bounce ideas off of. You need somebody there when you're taking grenades. You need somebody. It's a lot. I mean, I've endured the craziest amount of stuff.
I want to get into that because obviously with religion comes the radicals, and you guys are kicking the hornet's nest at the top.
Yeah.
You're not just walking these little mom and pop churches, which happens in being like, show us your numbers. Like you're going after the establishment of the Christian church or the Mormons. You guys are outing it all. So I'm sure they're getting evil. Isn't that crazy when you actually question things? The religions show you how the true evil running behind it. And that's why I want to get into this when we get into the depths of, I'm sure, the threats and because I get them just letting people talk about religion. I get crucified by a particular religion, Mormons, but they hate me. So the threats and just the vile stuff that I get from these people of God, it's hilarious to me. So I want to dig into that.
And so I agreed that I would do this, but our agreement was that we wouldn't do anything that was a grenade toss without having a solution. So we built a software platform, Broken Shepherds, which brings in 1.9 million profits into our database. It's an app, and you can go in and claim your nonprofit, all the nonprofits in the United States that people would donate to. You go in and claim them, and then you fill out some basic information, revenue, expenses, like 990 type information.
Yeah.
So the gist of the religion business and where all this darkness comes from, we discovered 10 loopholes that happen. And a couple of those loopholes, like housing allowances, real estate transactions, all these different things. And the whole reason behind that is when they have separation of church and state, they have religious liberty freedoms. Churches do not have to turn a 990 into the IRS.
Which a normal charity, we had to.
You have to.
We file everything.
So you have a level of transparency on that document that you're held to account for.
Yep.
Religious organizations don't have any. And then they'll say things like, hey, God commands you to give 10% to us. Okay, that is absolute way taken out of biblical context. And so you're now manipulating God's word. You're getting money, and it's in a dark system where you don't have to tell anybody anything. What can go wrong? What can go wrong? Yeah. So just like statistically speaking, $1 trillion to the nonprofit space comes from individual donors every year in the United States. $1 trillion.
Holy cow.
Over $500 billion of that is to religious organizations. So just in the United States alone, globally, it's $1 trillion to Christianity by individuals. This isn't including government grants or anything. Individuals. That money comes in. It is the darkest space possible. There are all these loopholes that you can operate in, like housing allowances, right? That's a huge one. Huge one. There's a guy, pastor in Dallas, that in 2004 got sued, or no, was suing somebody. So there was discovery. And in that discovery, it came out that he was getting, at that time, around $250,000 a year just in housing allowance. Now, this is 20-something years ago. Today, this same individual has about $20 million worth of personal real estate. The religious organization, the religious entity that people are donating money to, they pay for the taxes on the house. They pay for down payments on that house. They pay for HOA. They pay for, you need a chef, you need a maid. They pay for all that, the donors. So my philosophy on all this is, they're like, you're hating on the church. Well, first of all, what is a church? Is it the building? Is it the location? Or is it the body?
Or is it us
you and I
this
are having church right now. Exactly. And so can we call it a business? It has revenue coming in, expenses going out. They have a hard time calling it a business. But you operate businesses with transparency because that's the only way you could ever be held accountable. And the definition of transparency is to be able to stand up to public scrutiny. So if your congregation is like, hey, you have $20 million of real estate, like from what we've heard.
Make that make sense.
Make that make sense. I don't have to tell you. That's not standing up to public scrutiny at all. That's just like, I'm going to hide behind the law.
You know what's crazy about you saying this is when we had our charity, I ended up totaling my truck. I got completely crucified when I bought a new truck. I didn't even really buy a new truck. The insurance paid out my Tundra, and I actually got more money than when I bought it for and got a new truck. I got crucified over using my charity's money to buy a new truck, which we never crossed lines at all.
Yeah.
It's like, here's our I-90. Like, we can.
In 9 years, you didn't take a salary.
And so then now you're saying all this about churches, and it's mind blowing to me because us as this little veteran charity would try to do everything by the T, show everybody full transparency. Here's our taxes. People wouldn't even ask. We would just post them every year, or we'd just put them on our website.
Yeah.
Just for full transparency, because you can't question. Obviously, being a vet, nobody hates a successful veteran more than a veteran. And so that was always the hate that I got from the veteran community. Like, oh, you're just using this money. And it would just kill us because here we are doing everything we can to just raise money, keep afloat, save veterans' lives. And then at the other side, you're getting absolutely roasted on every. It was so bad. We would get to a point where we wouldn't even post things that we would just have as a home and building ourselves as far as personal properties and stuff, because we were always so worried about living under this magnifying glass of being this charity.
And it was never enough.
No.
Right. So the interesting part is you as a secular, veteran.
That's how you break out two. I don't mean to interrupt.
Secular and religious.
Secular, non-secular. Those are charity. That's how you would categorize two charities.
Yeah. So 1.9 million nonprofits in the United States. About 400,000 of those are religious organizations that do not turn a 990 into the IRS. That status is far easier to get than when you got. So they created a 14-point checklist. Some say maybe it was the CIA. Created a 14-point checklist, and that checklist was based off of Salvation Army. And then, so you have a checklist. So I'll throw one at you right now. Would you guess that Hell's Angels is a church?
You're telling me that Hell's Angels
is a church. And they check more. They're more in line with the 14-point checklist than a religious organization. They are who they say they are.
Which you have to respect.
It's not an endorsement of morality. It's just.
But if they're following the checkpoints, they're following the checkpoints. So technically, there's nothing wrong with that.
Do you have a creed? Do you meet? Do you have a physical building location? Do you meet once a month? Do you have a board of directors? All that kind of stuff, right? They check all that.
The Hells Angels.
Yes,
that's hilarious.
And they're more transparent than a lot of these other religious organizations are.
Which is so funny because we would want to immediately jump. If you saw a list of religious organizations and you saw Hell's Angel, everybody would be like, what are they doing on here? But from what you're saying is they're not the most, but they're much more transparent than a majority of churches that are on that list with them.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's
good for them.
It's mind-boggling, right? And again, it's not hey, you know what? Like, I think they're an awesome organization and then it's endorsement of morality. It's like, no, it is what it is. They're a church. Like, they are. And well, I'll tell you what else is a church is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints investment arm. That's called Ensign Peak.
They have a whole investment arm that branched off of the Mormon Church.
Oh, yeah. And they have crazy amount of assets. So the entire Mormon Church, when you take a look at the Mormon Church and its temples and its assets, and then you go and look at their financial arm, Ensign Peak, today they are blowing through $300 billion in net assets. They have enough money to buy every team. If they liquidated, they could buy every team in the NBA twice and still have money left over.
So you're telling me they could damn near end homelessness?
Oh, 100%. They could end homelessness and then some. And they could, the foster care programs, all that type of stuff. They absolutely can.
But they donate during their food drive during college basketball season.
They do.
How much did you say the Mormon Church was worth?
$300 billion.
300
and I'll
billion?
tell you that number will be $1 trillion because they hit escape velocity. They're the best investors, man. They are phenomenal investors. And you know why? It's registered as a church. So they're not paying the same kind of taxes you and I pay. They have the best situation possible. They are brilliant businessmen. I mean, hats off to you. You're a great businessman, but like, are you really a church though?
No.
No, come on, man. You're an investment vehicle.
I've asked this question, why am I in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming, and I look on my Onyx maps and there's a plot, Latter-day Saint Church, like in the hundreds of miles from anything, and the LDS Church owns a plot of land right in the middle of where I'm at. How?
Yeah, they're one of the largest landowners in the United States. Several reasons. One is controlling food sources down the road. Other one is just think about all the AI and the data centers and how valuable land is. They're building communities. I believe it's near Orlando. They have got some plans to build like a city out there. But they are one of the largest private landowners in the United States.
Make that make sense.
They have a lot of money. Lots.
Is it true that they hid the church? I want to say maybe the 90s. I could be. You'll know this. Where because the Mormon Church I don't know how to word the question. So the Mormon Church, and correct me if I'm wrong, in just trading stocks, has well over 100 million in just stocks. And don't
easily.
they hide that through another for-profit business attached to the Mormon Church? How does that work?
So Congress was able to get this bill passed where a lot of religious organizations were pushing it. It's called Conventions or Auxiliaries Associations of a Church. So the church is already pretty muddy, right? This concept of like, you're not paying taxes, you don't have to turn anything in. Then what's an auxiliary, a convention and all that? So they were able to get it listed as an auxiliary to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So therefore, they're good. Now, where they got in trouble is when they lied thousands of times to the SEC and got like a few $1 million fine. That would be like you getting a traffic ticket for doing some crazy, to lie to the government numerous times. Like that, make that make sense.
None of this makes sense, but how are they able to get away with this? Just because of how it's worded?
Because of how it's worded and their religious organization, and they operate within the sandbox that they're allowed to operate in.
So how does our government not go, oh, okay, whoa. Here's the Mormon Church. No. Like this has gone too far. This is no longer a church. This is a soon to be trillion dollar business that are not paying taxes. How is this happening unless our government has their hand in it? That's the only thing that would make sense to me.
So, I mean, the design of Christianity is meant to be an organism that can flow through systems.
Okay.
When you can put religious organizations in a box, you have a lot more control over them because you can take their tax exempt status away. So as long as as long as the politicians are getting along with that, and you see this very heavily, like in the last election, right? There's this thing called the Johnson Amendment, which is if you are endorsing a candidate from the pulpit or your additional or your official role in any way, shape, or form, you could lose your tax status. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Turning Point USA has an organization called TPUSA Faith. Their job, literally, word for word from the guy that runs it, I had a conversation with him, would bring in all these pastors because that was the vote that they needed to win the election for their candidate, who at the time was Trump. And so Trump becomes president, and then within a couple months, the IRS, the Treasury Department, puts out a notice that says, hey, we won't come after you. So it's before there's big change in life, in societies, my business partner calls it the death rattle, and this is part of season 1, where politics will cling on to religion.
Oh, for sure.
And then they'll cram it down your throat.
Mm-hmm.
And you're seeing it now with the Zionist movement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Zionists, the chosen people.
Yep.
We need to go to war. We need to do all this. So as long as people are playing ball with the politicians,
it all makes sense.
It all makes sense. But as soon as you betray the politicians, then you're toast. Now, also, remember this, like, they're a huge investor, the LDS Church. I mean, I think they're the top 100 stock owner of the top 100 stocks.
I just don't, it's mind-boggling to me because you have this whole generation where we want to, billionaires don't need to be billionaires. And if you're fall in the millionaire bracket, you need to be taxed more. But then here you have the LDS Church that's worth hundreds of billions of dollars, and nobody even bats an eye at it.
Yeah. No one bats an eye at it.
Meanwhile, they're just stockpiling real estate, jets. I mean, the real estate alone, I mean, they're able to turn around and sell this to Meta or lease it to Meta.
Yeah.
This is the stuff that's so frustrating to me because here we are as taxpayers, and I'm over here just grinding out a living and paying the government everything that we earn. And meanwhile, you're able to put missionaries all over the world to just spread your web of money and just sucking everything as much as you can from these poor countries because you're here and representing God.
So this concept of following the money is powerful. So if you take a look at the LDS Church and they're your normal employees and the people that are dedicating and the missionaries and all, they're not part of that money.
No.
They're not. In fact,
they're worker bees to it.
They're worker bees, but then they also have to pay their 10%.
For sure.
And when you go into following the money, right? Hey, we're building a new temple. Well, who's going to get those contracts? Another
Mormon contractor.
Another Mormon builder. And that money just flows through. We're building communities. We're buying farmland. We're in the farming business. We're doing all that.
But it's no outsiders.
Outsiders, not
Very
necessarily.
rare.
Very like on the minority for sure.
I had a guy reach out recently. They're building a big temple in eastern Idaho.
Yeah.
And he goes, dude, the amount of stuff that we're finding out, we're one of the only non-Mormon contractors. He goes, it is the most bizarre project we've ever worked on. How the money flow. I'm trying to get him on, but he's like, dude, it'll out my company that I'm with. Yeah. He's like, I'm just a worker bee, but he's like, it's insane. He's like, this is the most demonic Mason cult shit that we've ever been a part of. And he's like, we're just building it. He's like, this
Mason
is
cult.
And so the fact that some random listener reached out was like, you should see what's going on here. I've preached it for years because I know guys that have gotten in trouble in the hunting industry that are LDS, and they were able to use the LDS's attorneys to get themselves out of poaching charges.
Okay.
Several times.
Yeah.
And this is factual. So like there's a whole, like a bunch of us have watched this, these guys that get all these poaching charges, and then clear as day, done, dead their rights. And then all of a sudden now they have the Mormon LDS Church and lawyers backing them, and they get out of everything. And it's like this, it's very cultish to me how they all everything's pieced together and everything's connected, and this person's got a thing for this, and this guy's got this project ready to go, and they have this job and these equipment, and it's all tied. It
is very tied. So I was going to bring up one point, and then I want to tie back into this lawyer thing that you brought up.
Okay. Please, so I know I'm not crazy.
So I want to say it was 1907. Joseph Smith, not the founder Joseph Smith, but like 2 generations later. So it was either grandson or great nephew, one of those two, came out and said, and this is in the docuseries, that the LDS Church there will come a day when they will no longer need to require you as a member to tithe and pay the legalistic 10%. They said that. All right, and so here we are, 100 some odd years later, and they have $300 billion. Like, they don't need to collect another penny, and they can operate in perpetuity.
How much are they making off investments alone?
Oh, it's billions, right? 300 billion, right? And they're major owners in defense stocks. So they'll be over here and go, like, they just up their, so this is something I haven't shared. So this is a good one.
Yeah,
so, and by all means, take a look at it, because since they are buying publicly traded companies, they do file forms, SEC forms. So you're able to see the stocks that are publicly traded that they're acquiring
by the LDS Church.
Mm-hmm. So like Trump calls a meeting with Hegseth and the Defense Industrial Complex, brings in like CEOs of all these different companies, like 3 months before we struck Iran. Hey, we need you guys to build. Well, in that window of that 3-month period, and again, I don't know, I can't concretely say, oh yeah, someone went and told the LDS Church, but like they went and like ramped up, like I believe it was Northrop Grumman specifically, ramped that one up. They own a ton of defense stocks. And then you even watch like when the vaccine was out, when the vaccine came out, right? There was only Pfizer and maybe Moderna. One other company had vaccines. So they went out and they were pushing everyone to get the vaccine. They were pushing it amongst their membership. They weren't given religious exemptions, despite that there was studies and proof that like, hey, from like 1970s, like abortions, like there was some testing done with that, right? So you would think that if somebody says, hey, I don't want a part of that, I want a religious exemption, they weren't giving people religious exemptions on it. And you should see, and I have a post on this on the Religion Business Instagram page, throughout that 2-year period of COVID, just how they kept investing in Pfizer. Boom, boom, boom. They're smart businessmen, but that's what they're doing, right? They're phenomenal businessmen. They ride the waves, whether it's war. They'll come out and say they don't agree with war. But if you don't agree with the war, then why are you continuously buying
that's not
investing
a religion.
In the weapon systems?
It's 100% of business. There's no religion. There's no God. There's nothing tied to that. It's 100% of business.
Yeah.
Lying to people to believe into them, preying off of the innocence, the ignorant, whatever, the emotions, the tithe. But meanwhile, they're at the top just laughing their asses off. Can I ask you kind of an off-topic
100%
question, since you're buried into religion? And this is just from me. Don't come at me. This is just a question. I personally feel the Jewish religion and Mormon are there's really no difference to me except for names of how it's structured, the corruption, how they're tied into everything. They have their hands in everything.
And
there a difference?
And they love Solomon.
We won't even get into the kid shit. That'll be season 2. Why is there so many similarities between Judaism and Mormonism? There's no, if you took away the titles and laid out their beliefs and how the church is structured, why is there no difference?
So the first thing they'd say is Mormons are followers of Christ, right?
Yes.
So if taking all that aside, if you think about the concept of kingdom building, and the desires of like this, like Solomon is a very interesting character in the Bible, right? I mean, he asked God for wisdom. He got it. He had 700 wives, 300 concubines. He had all the money in the world, could get anybody he wanted, and had all that power. That's a very attractive thing for the flesh.
Absolutely.
And so, and then but what they leave out is that he was turning his back on God the entire time.
100%.
Now, when you get into Ecclesiastes and you read a lot of his wisdom stories, you can see that he's obviously talking about some of his own faults in there and trying to share that wisdom with people. But I just think that it is organizations and groups of people who have that desire to want to be like Solomon, and it's idolatry. That's what it is.
Is it just a natural occurrence or evolution of just who we are as humans to be put in a position of a church, and then everything's going, and then all of a sudden maybe you could bring in more members by expanding this, and then before you know it, we need to build a whole separate department on, and then now we need to add children's ministry, then we're going to add teen nights.
And you hit the nail on the
head.
Is
that that's the only thing that trying to kind of make sense for me is how all of these churches eventually end up in this spot. But how do from your guys' research, how do we get here? How do we get to hundreds of millions of dollars, trillions and billions of dollars being, I don't want to say embezzled, but moved around, invested in, and all this
6
stuff.
cents off every dollar actually ever leaves the institutional walls for outside impact.
Hold on, say that again.
6 cents out of every dollar leaves the institutional walls for global impact.
What institutional walls? All?
The institutional walls of the religious organizations. Meaning like, hey, we're gonna be, the money's gonna leave our institution and we're gonna be helping other people outside of these walls.
And that's just institutions in general. That's not categorized like
that's religious.
Just religious. So you're saying 6 cents out of a dollar, if I donate to a religious church, is making it outside of the walls to make an impact in community, building wells, whatever it may be.
And also 6%, a little north of 6%, is stolen internally by church staff. 25% goes to buildings. 44% goes to salaries and overhead. So when you just look at that business and you go, hey, how do we get here? Well, what you described is called the religious economic theory. So you start off with good intentions, right? You and I start churches off. You're 2 years ahead of me. You're down the road. And I look at your business, your church, it's a business, this organization, and I see that you've got a charming pastor and you have coffee and you have great sound, right? And that's gotten you some people in. Well, I'm like, dude, if I'm going to compete with BAM, then guess what? I now need to have like a coffee bar and I need to have a better childcare system. So then what do I have to do that? I have to go raise money. And how do I raise money? Well, I'm going to take some stuff from Scripture, and then I'm going to do that. I'm going to look at what other pastors have done. They'll come up with this tithing concept. You know, in the Old Testament, the tithing was agriculture and grain, and it was related to land God gave them. It had nothing to do with, your W-2. And so, and this, oh, you're against giving. No, I'm all for giving. Give generously. And you know what, Pastor X? If you've built a $20 million real estate portfolio off of your donors' money, and they know that, and they're cool with it, and they continue to give, man, that's great. That's awesome. Good for you guys. But people need to know how that money's being spent.
For sure.
So people come in with great intentions, good intentions, pave the way to hell, and then they start having to compete. And every day that they compete, that message, original message from Christ, slowly shifts away.
What was that? What paves the way to hell? Good
intentions pave the way to hell.
Good intentions pave the way to hell. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, because Christ says, pick up your cross and follow me. That's a daily thing.
Yes.
We do good at it some days we don't do so good at it. But that's a daily call, this concept of like, I came in with good intentions. Well, you may have come in with good intentions, but are you picking up your cross today and following Christ? Because guess what? If you're manipulating his word to get money to come into your pocket, there is no way on earth, bro, that you have the Holy Spirit in you. There's no way.
Thank you. Okay.
There's no way. You have another spirit in you, and it's not the spirit of truth. It's not God. It's not Yahweh. It's not Christ, Yeshua, Jesus, whatever it is. It's not that. It is, this concept of, that people go off with, I mean, the word Mason is always a very dangerous word to talk about. Like, it's a very secret type of society and stuff like that. But they're obsessed with Solomon. They're obsessed with the temple. The LDS church is as well, too.
For sure.
There's some affiliation there.
100%.
Yeah.
You can't even deny that. That is just wild to me that 6%, I'm still stuck on that. And here we are. I mean, you saw the Drewski skit, right?
Yeah.
He's hanging. He's got his red the hate that he got from that. I mean, he's getting hate now over the whole Erica
Kirk thing.
Erica Kirk one. But he did where he roasted all those mega church pastors and got crucified on it. But nothing that he said was wrong in it. It was everything. I mean, granted, he spun up the comedian side of it. But if your pastor's walking out wearing Cartier and Louis Vuitton and...
Ask some questions. This pastor in Dallas, so one of the inspirations for the Religion Business Season 1 is Matthew 25. It's like 31 through 46, where he's talking about I was sick in the hospital. I was sick. I was in prison. I was thirsty. I was naked. The stranger, the prisoner, all that. And Christ is talking about who we need to help, because if you help those people, you're to the least of these that you do that to, you're doing it to me. And so those are the people that you really need to be loving on and taking care of, because they're the ones in society that just get
for sure, just
as you know from your work that you've done. And so this church in Dallas, the pastor, this guy literally, they have their welcome committee staff trained. Okay, these are the brands. All right, if they're wearing, anything Lululemon or above, look for Prada, look for Gucci bags and all that. That's who you go greet. So if you look poor or you look sick or you look marginalized, they ain't gonna greet you.
This is a church in Texas?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And then guess what? Come fill this information card out. Then they take your address to look up to see what your home's worth. And then if your home's worth over $1 million, you get a phone call from the pastor. Not the sick, not the marginalized, not the stranger,
the single mom.
Not the single mom. No.
Some dad that's struggling, needs help.
No.
Because
it's all about money.
Gucci purse on.
It's all about money. So if that is your MO, you don't have the Holy Spirit. You're not operating with that, because
the devil.
That is the devil.
100%. That's the devil.
Yeah.
And I that was one of those things that took me a long time to grasp, was the devil will give you everything you want.
Yeah, I mean, he did that to Christ, right? After 40 days of going in the wilderness, right? Like, hey, that could all be yours.
And that's where I feel so many people we just trust. Oh, he's a pastor.
And he's a man.
Flawed
man. And we're all flawed men. And I think
finite minds. We sin every day.
Yeah. There's a question that your listeners to really think about. Is your faith your own?
Mine is.
Yours is.
I'll die on that. And that's one. I'm glad you asked that question. And let's dig into this, because is your faith your own? I actually just got kind of roasted on this, because I did a poll on my social, and somebody asked how do I connect with other, with the congregation in the church?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really brutally honest. And I said, I don't go to church to congregate. I don't go to church to be in groups. I go to church to hear the message. But my faith, my religion, which I don't even like religion, it's a relationship between me and God.
Yeah.
That's mine, because look at how many pastors, priests, bishops, deacons are all getting caught with child pornography and all the other things that are going on in life, because they're no different than me, and they're no different than you, but we put a title on these people. So how can I fully trust man? I don't care on the position or title, but I could always trust God. That's where I feel I don't agree with a lot of Christians, because I feel that their faith is based off of what they're told at church. And that's been a big thing for my wife. It's between you and God. It's your journey, journey. You need to feel it. Can I listen to a pastor, and I've talked about it on the show every time we go to ours. I swear to God, they got a spotlight and they ping and they zoom it right in like this. And I'm sweating and I'm like, oh God, he knows what I'm thinking. Like, how does this dude know what I've been going through?
Yeah. He's talking to me.
I'm human, right? Yeah. I can just feel the sweat rolling down. So I get that. But he's not God. He's not perfect.
No.
He's okay, cool. You represent the creator, but you're not him. And Adam and Eve, so excuse my French, fucked everything up for us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how my mind works. So
Yeah.
where I can't put all my faith in some dude he's just preaching from a Bible that he's watching porn. He's got a drinking addiction. He's in the drug, whatever it may be, cheating on his wife, whatever the man does. So I love that question. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on a tangent.
No, I'm glad.
I'm big
glad
into
you
that
did.
because that's how I personally feel. And I get kind of attacked on it because people are like, you need to have a congregation. That's the whole point of church is community and coming together, which I don't argue any of that. But I start listening to these people talk and I'm like, my parents are a perfect example. I don't know how much you get into it, not to get off topic. The book of Enoch.
Yeah.
And Giants, I can't go to my parents and talk to them about that stuff. They're old school. No, that doesn't happen. And
But I mean, there's parts of it in Genesis that allude to, the angels.
Fallen angels. Yeah. And I personally feel that fallen angels are what a lot of our religions are based off of. The whole, anyways, that's a whole other episode we could probably do. So that's where I'm like, okay, I need this. I need me and you, God, that these are the conversations because and I guess just the way my mind works and I'd love to hear your side of it. Everybody's at a different stage of their journey as far as being from God conscious to never missed a Sunday in the last 35 years. I can't relate to everybody, but I could always relate to God. Mm-hmm. I could always talk to him. Mm-hmm. I could always ask him my questions. I could lay it all out to him and not be judged.
Right.
So when you ask that question, that's my mindset behind it.
I love it, man.
So I don't know if it's right or wrong, but that's just how I feel.
So I'm gonna go off on a couple things here.
Yeah.
So the first thing I'll say is this is a very interesting study. So Willow Creek is a massive church in Illinois.
Okay.
Huge mega church.
Okay.
They hired Stanford several years ago to do a case study for them, deep dive on how can we help increase one's faith? How does one's faith get increased?
That's a great question.
It's a phenomenal question. And so let's say you're the business owner of this organization. Everything they got told is not in favor of the business. It's antithetical to the business.
Oh, so it went against everything that they were hoping it would go?
Right, because it didn't feed the business. So the top two things, reading your Bible alone and praying alone.
Really?
Yep.
She is huge on solitude.
You need that because where does God, that's how you hear God. Now can God meet you in wild chaos? Of course he can. But when you're sitting by yourself and you're praying to your Father, and you're reading the Bible, it is a living word, and things become alive, and they come into your life. Okay, and then the next argument that people say, oh, because you've heard you've gotten this too, like, oh, you're against the congregation coming together, you're against this.
Yeah.
No, but I'm going to tell you that when I was a president of a company and we'd have our executive huddles, the very first thing we would tell people is you are here. This is an expensive meeting. All of us are coming together, an executive team, away from the day-to-day, and you are here to be a contributor of content, not a consumer of content. So how can I add value to a small group setting? How can I add any value to your listeners or you or your daughter at all if I'm not talking to God and knowing what the Holy Spirit's telling me and I'm having that discernment? and I don't know his word. So 13% of the people have actually read the Bible cover to cover.
That's it?
Yeah, 13%. So so this over-reliance on what a pastor says. So you need to know to protect yourself too. Like, how does one know they're not getting duped by their pastor? That their pastor's not telling them a bunch of baloney.
You're telling me on a Sunday morning, I go to our mega church here, 13% of the people sitting there have read the Bible from page start to
Cover
back?
to cover.
Dang, that's interesting.
Yeah, and so, you know, and I used to fall in that bucket because I used to read, you know what, I'm just going to read the New Testament. All right, then I'll go back and read chunks. Or, you know, a lot of those 365-day Bibles, they'll go couple passages of Old Testament, one passage of New, right? And so, so the Bible is written for us, not to us. And the Bible is the greatest history book of all time. So you need to read it from cover to cover because that's how God reveals himself throughout it in history and in understanding the context. Because I could pull any verse out and just shoot it to you. And if you don't know the context behind it, I can completely manipulate you.
100%.
And that happens all the time.
And it's so you saying the Bible is the greatest history book ever written and love story. I mean, just the whole, everything in it. What's so fascinating about that statement to me is, you know, me being a baby Christian, getting back into it, the wife will be like, well, Jebediah was the son of Joseph, and then she'll start breaking it down. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, and then eventually Noah had all these sons, and then she starts expanding it, and she's like, babe, it's all here.
Yeah.
And that's where I can't wait to be educated fully on the Bible so I can start just at people, like not just challenging them, because there's so many things you're like, dude, no, the flood, no. And then you start looking back and you start finding these things in the Bible, and it's like, how is this documented? This lines up with this, that this dates match this many years ago, this happened, and these droughts and rain fire on.
Yeah.
And then you're going back to today, 2026, you can go back and find a lot of this historical evidence that's in the Bible.
Yeah.
But then people, that never happened. You're like, actually, and then you start breaking it down and how these pieces, and I think that's one of the
most accurate history book of all time.
But the problem is the pieces to this puzzle have just been thrown everywhere. So now I feel like me as a little Christian, I'm like, okay, here's a corner piece. All right, well, I'm going to go draw my journey. And, oh, here's this random color. I don't know where that's going to go. We're going to put it right here. Like, that's me in the Bible. That's the only way I could describe it, is this 1,000-piece puzzle that has been thrown to the winds. And now I'm spending my whole life walking around aimlessly, picking up chapters and scriptures and putting them on this thing. So maybe one day I'll have this complete Bible, puzzle put together. But that's where it's this crazy journey. And then all of a sudden you'll find this bit of information out and you're like, oh my God, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's here in the history books.
It's right. It's right there. One of the concepts on why people wrestle with this as a faith my own is because naturally we abdicate all of our roles. That's just the way society's classically conditioned us, right? So we're not going to teach our children the Word of God because I don't know the Word of God myself that well either. And no one really taught me that at home. So guess what? I'm just going to send them to Sunday school.
But the 20-year-old Sunday school teacher knows more than me.
That's a good question to ask yourself, right? And the same thing, you and your wife did an amazing job making a decision to homeschool your children, right? Because we abdicate all of our roles. So I'll tell you, my kids are in school. My kids play sports. I'm a single father. So but when I look at this, and this is conversations their mother and I have often, it's like, I'm struggling to find time to parent our children. They wake up at 6-something in the morning. They go to school. They have sports after school. They finally get home at around 6:30, 7 o'clock. Then they have 2 hours of homework, which I think homework is absolute garbage.
It's the dumbest thing ever.
It's the dumbest thing ever. And then, God forbid, they have a little bit of a social life. I want to talk to a few friends. Where's my time in there to talk about God? Where is my time for us to sit down together? Like, you're constantly competing with all these things. But going back to this concept that, we abdicate our roles out, and the business model of church, and when you brought up the parallel between LDS and the Jewish faith, like those concepts, and even Christian Zionism. It's 1 foot in the Old Testament. So like the Bible is written and things get fulfilled. It doesn't mean it's not true. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. It didn't mean that it wasn't a law, but Christ fulfilled that. So my business partner is a brilliant guy, and he'll say like, it's like this, right? Like you hire me to do some lawn maintenance for you, right? Okay. And you're like, hey, trim the trees, edge the lawn, mow the grass. All right. Those 3 things. You pay me $100. All right. It's finished. It is finished. Christ said it is finished. The veil tore the veil tore, when you look at like the tabernacle, it was broken up into 3 things, right? So in the temple, the veil tore, which was the entry into the holies of holies, which a high priest would go in once a year for the forgiveness of sins, right? It is finished. We no longer have to go through man. We no longer have to go through an institution. We have a relationship with the Father through the way, the truth, and the life, the only way to the Father, which is Christ. It's been fulfilled. So this concept of, I would keep showing back up at your house and going, hey man, like I need to do this and that, but you're not going to pay me for it. But like, I keep coming back to achieve the same tasks and do the same things that were already fulfilled. Mm-hmm. Why would I continue to do that? Well, it's a hell of a business model, right? You need man. Yep. I've heard a pastor say, we're kind of like, there's different priesthoods. So there's the Levitical, Aaronic type priesthood, which was all based on the tabernacle. The cross, it was a foreshadow of what was to come, which was the cross. If you lay a cross like on the tabernacle, it's a very like eye-opening thing.
I haven't seen that.
And Christ fulfilled all of that. We no longer need to, do the sacrificing. We no longer need to do any of those things because Christ fulfilled it. So it's a slap in the face to our Messiah that we keep like wanting to like go do these Old Testament things when he fulfilled it. So like you're either a follower of Christ or you got 1 foot here and 1 foot here because it's very convenient to your business model and your political agenda. And that's where we're at right now in society, and it's messed up.
This is a fascinating one.
Yeah.
There's so many layers to it.
Tons.
And there's so much just, it's sad for me, right? Because I'm in this new journey and I just want to believe and I want to feel, and I don't have any doubt in my mind. I would die on that hill that God sent his son down, walked this earth, died for our sins. No doubt in my mind.
The first episode in next season that's dropping this summer is called Operation Millstone. Concept in the Bible where
tie it around your neck. It's a better option.
Yeah, don't mess with the kids, right? If anyone messes with the children, you're better off put a millstone around your neck. And so our children are being abused left and right. Our children are so vulnerable out there in this world. And Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force, which is the law enforcement agency in the United States that monitors all the stuff that's on the internet, all the exploitation, all the stuff that's going on in the chat rooms, all the child sex abuse materials that's floating around. The heat maps on these things are out of control. The amount of child pornography that's being distributed and downloaded daily is astronomical, to the point that in Orange County, they have a 0.1% response rate on leads that come in at the ICACs. There's so much, but yet this organization across the United States, I think there's like 61 offices, 61 chapters, departments of it. They get funded under $40 million a year, but yet we give $75 billion to overseas countries.
Wait. $40 million gets allocated to help protect children online.
Correct.
From our government to these organizations that are helping fight this. $40 million.
Yeah.
And we're giving billions.
$75 billion just this past year overseas to foreign countries.
Do you truly feel our churches and government give a absolute shit about our children?
The evidence overwhelmingly says they do not.
Because you have the funds.
Because you have the funds.
Why? This is one of those things where I'm going to make it make sense. If I'm some pastor of some mega church and I got 80 million in the bank account, which probably is not a big number for these mega churches, as a Christian, as a father, as a man with integrity, why are we not helping fund these resources or helping build new resources to help our children that nobody else is doing? But instead, the LDS Church has hundreds of billions of dollars, trading hundreds of millions of dollars on the stocks every day, and are at the snap of a finger, we could have every resource built.
You have to have the Holy Spirit, I believe, because the body of Christ, you're not going to rise up without it. So
the Holy Spirit is going to help me start slapping some of these people because it's just insane to me. This is where I'm so torn of trying to get into these groups and just being real. We're just raw chaos, bro. We're doing real conversation. This is why I can't connect with most Christians, because they can't fight. They're not going to, not in a physical way, but you're going to sit here and just go through the motions and read your hymns and read your Bible, and then you're nobody's doing anything. And that's why I open up my platform. It's the least I could do to let people talk about these problems, to educate people, along with some other things we're doing on the side. But it's like, you got these churches and you have resources, and I'm not trying to sound like an asshole here. I would rather my church be helping kids in our community that are starving, being abused, being trafficked, being used as content on the internet, than building a well in Africa that's 6 cents out of $1 is going to go and help support.
So a lot of these organizations,
am I wrong?
No, you're 100% right on.
I just feel like because I'm usually the brash asshole that comes off, and not a lot of people like.
We need it,
but that's how my mind is. Like, hey, please, we're raising funds to go and build a church in Papua New Guinea. I'm like, no offense, I don't care.
Yeah,
there's kids that I'm financially supporting that I don't even know who these kids are, but I've seen them, and we're putting money out of our own pocket to help in our community.
Yeah,
I don't care about a church overseas. Why aren't our churches focusing on our community, which I know they do. It's all about community, right? On paper. Mm-hmm. Correct me if I'm wrong, the United States is one of the largest consumers and producers of child pornography.
The largest, yeah.
If my church was like, hey guys, we're going to be done building wells in Papua New Guinea for the next 3 years, and we're going to be tithing, and all of this is going to help the internet problem and help educate parents, help educate children, and help build task force to go after it, I'd be like,
sign me up. Let's go.
Okay, where do I tithe at this point? Like, why are we not doing this?
So when you talk about the Papua New Guinea or the kids in Africa type thing, right? So in season 1, the religion business goes to Uganda.
Okay,
and we met with several great nonprofits that were there that are doing really, really good work, right? One of them shared with us that a church in the United States reached out to them and was like, hey, I want to help you out. They went and raised $500,000. They didn't get one penny.
The people in
Uganda
raised the $500,000.
Right. So they asked for the kids' photos, marketing collateral, tell us your story, right? Because nothing sells better than the starving kid with
flies on his face.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That sells.
That sells.
Right? Because they can raise money there, and who's going to track down that it becomes even murkier, right? So these are these loopholes where just people just
for 10 cents a day, you can sponsor little Jimmy in Africa.
And not to say that there's not people that are actually doing that and they're legit. And
for sure. I'm not throwing shade on it.
Yeah.
But it's just basic questions. Like, why is that? Is that who we've been trained as a society? Because are we the problem?
Because we're so blessed in America. We have life so good, right? Like, define a poor person in America. They have an iPhone 17 still. They have TVs in their house. You know, that kind of stuff, right? Whereas this poor kid, right? It's like 30 kids living. Meanwhile, we have children being trafficked like crazy in the United States, being abused in silence in institutions. These kids, they file a civil suit or whatever. They settle with the church or the religious institution or the camp or whatever. They go under NDA and they can never talk about it again. So we've been working with the Trey's Law movement, which in now Alabama, Texas, and Missouri, and it's being filed in several other states, but we were there in D.C. for it to go federal.
What is this?
That you can, whether a kid signs an NDA or not from abuse, like that kid doesn't have to stay silent. No kid should have to stay silent. That's
Absolutely
what that means.
not, yeah.
And it goes retro. So I don't care if you signed one 20 or 30 years ago.
Oh.
It goes retro because
that's huge.
Our dear friend Elizabeth Phillips, her brother Trey Carlock, was abused at Camp Kanakuk for years.
That's been a hot one lately.
That's been a hot one lately, man. And he felt like he couldn't talk about it because he was under an NDA and stuff, and he had a hard time even, like, he felt like he was wrong even speaking to his therapist about it. And a lot of, like, data and statistics is out there on this type of stuff, and then, you know, he ended up killing himself when he was 28. And so this law is named after him.
Okay.
And they mess with the wrong dude's sister, man, because
Good.
she is
On it.
bro, she's a force.
Good.
And she ain't stopping at all. And she's been awesome to work with. And she's a huge part of our first episode. But like Kanakuk, for example, I mean, allegedly, right, it was on Sean Ryan, mentioned the comment about over 1,000 kids, and that, you know, Sean was saying you've been silencing them with NDAs, and they were like, we never put anyone under NDAs. Nathan came out, my business partner, and was like, hey, yeah, I noticed that, you know, you're threatening Sean with a lawsuit and saying there's no NDAs. I have 4 on me right now in my car because we've interviewed tons of the victims. Tons. And then they were like, oh, well, we only had one bad apple. So they had one guy as the complete fall guy for everything.
For sure.
But go to Facts About Kanakuk. Go to factsaboutkanakuk.org. It's a website.
That's a religious summer camp.
It's a
church camp.
It's a church, yes. Yes. And it is a massive enterprise.
We had a woman
They even have one in Haiti. Yeah.
Oh, it's a chain?
Oh, it's a chain. They even have one just for African-American kids, and they have...
oh, my God, dude, the corruption. It's so blatant. It's so blatant. They don't even hide it anymore.
Yeah, so this goes back to, like... let's go back to the intent of why, because you were bringing up this concept. Because they can hide behind the law. That's why it's blatant. But they pretend like they're hiding behind God. Well, you can't hide behind God. God's light. You hide behind the law. So everything is permissible, but not everything's edifying. It might be legal, but it's not edifying. So it's legal for you to do this, but does it mean that it's edifying? Absolutely not. It's not, right? I tell people this all the time. I'm like, hey, you know, I'll throw out draw a comparison. Well, they're not doing anything illegal. I'm like, okay, all right. So let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is it illegal for you as a married man to go to Vegas, have a night out with a prostitute, get high, and get hammered?
Illegal? No, I can do all of that.
All right. But is it edifying? Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. Is it the right thing to do? Absolutely not. So when you're like a religious person saying that you're hiding, like you're walking with God, but you're not, dude. God is light. You're not walking with God. You're hiding behind a law. And that law, when you go back to 1913, Congress's intent behind this was this special group is not going to pay taxes because they are going to provide for the local social capital. They're going to provide an environment here that will enable human flourishing. So what do you have? What do you have now? We have $40 trillion in debt, $39 trillion in debt as a government. You have one side of the aisle, a bunch of especially like on the more Democrat side, where they're like, we need to raise taxes so that we can help more people. All right, the government helping people is not a 2-month or 3-month thing. You're enabling people over a period of time, right?
It's the greatest oxymoron to me ever.
So we want to raise taxes. Meanwhile, you have $1 trillion flowing in from individual donors to these organizations who are designed and were meant to be filling that gap in society, to be taking care of the homeless, the sick, the poor, the marginalized, all of those that Christ talked about. And instead, those organizations, a lot of them are just inuring themselves, and then the government is just spending it on fraud, waste, abuse also, and a bunch of crap and endless wars and all this other stuff. So meanwhile, we got $40 trillion in debt, and then you have inurement going on here, and then the people that need the help and support the most are the ones that are suffering. Yet we're like, hey, let's go fight a war. It's the same concept. You're like, why the kids in Africa versus the kids here? It's the same concept. That's a very sexy thing to go solve. We're going overseas, right? In business, when you say I'm an international businessman, that has a little bit more of a thing than like I do business locally.
For sure.
Everyone wants to go on an airplane, go onto another world, and go do stuff there. So we're spending all this money overseas, but we're not taking care of our own. And then we're like, oh, well, it's the government's responsibility. Well, no, it's the nonprofit's responsibility. Actually, us, the body of Christ, the people who are donating all this money and paying all these taxes, we need to step up and we need to start putting our army together to go solve these problems.
For sure. We just start pushing on these establishments, these churches.
And legislatures too, right?
I don't think anything will ever change in our personally.
Uh-huh.
I honestly don't think it'll ever change in the churches just because they're so embedded, the establishment of the government, even though we the people should be bigger than the government. Cool. Let's say right now.
Sounds great, doesn't it?
Let's say right now we swipe everybody in Congress, Trump, all the everybody, swipe them all. And we bring in all these new people that were like, hey, this guy, you're going to do great. Chris, you're going to be president or VP. It's the establishment of how deep rooted it is in pure evil to me that those people are just going to fall right back into it. Because of look at government contracts. How many of these politicians are tied into these government contracts? The picture is so big and so vast that we stretch around the world as far as the establishment of the government. And then right underneath it, government, churches, religions, to me, that we're so deep rooted in the body of these establishments, they'll never change. It's been happening for hundreds of years. I don't know. I don't have a solution for it besides.
But the people outside of that, we have to step up
100%. But look how comfortable we are. Look how lazy we are. We could scroll. We don't even have to leave our home to get groceries and to do anything anymore. Everybody's a social justice warrior online. Where does this movement start? That's my thing. That's my big frustration right now. Yeah. That's why I'm like unplugging just from everything, because you talk to these people and they're like, oh, did you see what Trump did this? And I'm like, bro, you still think there's a side? Like, that's the phase of my life I'm in. Oh, the fucking Democrats. I'm like, listen, buddy.
I'm over
if
it.
We can't agree, I go, this is what I tell people, just go watch one of the last Trump's inauguration speech or any of these big speeches where the House and it's divided in the aisle and you got the Democrats and the Republicans and all the Republicans are cheering because this woman got murdered by an illegal and now they're going to name a state park after her, and all the Democrats are sitting there pissed off. Nobody could come to an agreement on anything except for Israel. I go, who?
You get me started there.
I'm like,
actually do, please.
The fact that the only thing our government can completely come together and support is protecting Israel. I'm like, like that meme. Really?
Yeah.
You sure about that?
By the way,
and it's like one of those things to me. So we're for that just rooted in evil and corruption and power and money from government and churches, which I feel are run exactly the same. It's just our government's just a bigger scale of it and better at hiding shit through our National Reserve and all this, the Fort Knox and the gold and all that, which I think is all a lie. That's where, how do we make this change if we, the people, are too lazy to stand up and fight it? Because then you look at the Christians, these Zionist supporting Christians that are like, we need to support Israel. I'm like, we're just so divided. How do we bring these people together to fight this? And obviously you
God's
guys,
remnant, man.
Freaking A, bro.
Yeah, and you're part of that and I'm part of that. And so our piece of it is using the filmmaking to explore major loopholes and problems, and then bringing together a solution. So the solution for the season, so people can go on Broken Shepherds right now, but like we're going to have a specific mission within which is Operation Millstone, which is we're going to get about 10 to 12 nonprofits that are in the child trafficking, people that raise money to give the ICACs, because these ICACs that I was telling you about earlier, they don't have the best forensic computers that they need.
Yeah.
They don't have the AI technology they need. And I'll give you an example of good AI technology. A 2-year-old girl, she was in CSAM, and that went and ripped through the dark web. When then an image pops up of her on some Facebook page and she's 12. she was trafficked. They were able to identify the 2-year-old as that 12-year-old 10 years later with AI technology. They were able to know where she was. They went and kicked the door down, and she was being abused at 12.
So for 10 years, she's been captured.
For 10 years, she's been living in that world, and they got her. So just think about if these people, we had more agents and they had more of this technology. Like, what pisses me off more than anything is all these governors, they talk about, oh, we're in a state of emergency. Yeah, state of emergency, we have technology. Give the people the technology they need, activate the National Guard, and start kicking doors in and go start rescuing children in your own state, Luther.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I have my mixed takes on ICE and how they're conducting things and
Same.
stuff. Won't even get into that, right? I've talked about previous episodes. Who is going to bitch if you have the National Guard and ICE that is walking up to your house with an iPad going, yep, proof, you're coming with us? I would donate, I would support, I would gear up. I would be doing everything I could to support that.
Yeah, I feel like, oh, wow, my kids can play in their front yard again.
Oh, my kid could walk to the park and I don't have to. All right, I'll come with you.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, it's the 5th time today. Yeah, because who knows who's going to drive by.
100%.
That's what the American people want. At
Yeah.
least for me. I would rather get pulled over, see some cops harassing some dude because hey, here's the guy's license plate. And I mean, our systems track everything.
Yeah.
We know that's why I don't roll plates on any of my trucks, because I'm one of those conspiracies. But they know exactly who you are, where you are at any given
Absolutely,
time. You mean
do.
to tell me with the technology we have that we cannot be scanning what's getting searched and then all of a sudden, boom, there's the
can't.
website. Here it goes.
We can't.
But we're not doing it. But instead, I'm getting pulled over for window tint.
Yeah.
But we got dudes not next door, literally. I'm not sorry if your neighbors or my neighbors are watching. People in the neighborhoods that are registered sex offenders, and they're doing this stuff all day, every day. It is terrifying of the amount of child pornography that's getting produced here in the United States, and I'm getting pulled over for window tint and not having license plates on my truck. I can't support that.
I'm waiting for the first governor to step up and say, I'm declaring a state of emergency. We have a serious pedophile problem. Aurora, Colorado, right? In Colorado.
It's horrible, isn't it?
Horrible there. Absolutely horrible. Awful. And so they didn't want anyone to know how bad their pedophile problem was because no one would want to live there. So they weren't doing anything about it.
Well, the city itself?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are hiding how bad
Yes. That's how awful this problem really truly is. Do you see local municipalities coming out there saying, hey, we had X children missing, Y children abused, all that? Do you see that?
That's a great question.
We don't see that. Instead, we see all this other crap about gasoline prices and all that, which, don't get me wrong, that's important. I'm not saying it's not, but like, there's nothing more important than kids.
100%.
Period. Like, if you can't take care of kids, the most vulnerable ones, like
the most innocent,
then what are we doing? And so our goal is to take a lot of these nonprofits that are doing good work in that space, and that $1 trillion river where all these people, individuals are donating. You don't have to give 10. If you want to give to your church, be generous. But like, you don't have to give 10% to anybody. That is an absolute legalistic thing. That is not what we're supposed to be doing. Where
did the 10% in tithing, where did that originate from?
So,
why is it 10%? I grew up my whole life. My parents grew up super poor family.
Yeah.
10%, my whole life. Even when my parents had nothing, they still found that 10%. God's blessed us. We're able to pay next month's bills. I get that mindset of my parents. I look back and I'm cool. But where did tithing and 10%? When did this become a thing?
So the word tithing means a tenth, and it's Old Testament, and that's like and that's the whole thing. There was 3 tithes. There was 3. There was one that happened every 3 years.
Okay.
And 2 that happened that were annual. So basically, it's 23.33% if you were going to get like really legalistic about tithing, not just 10%. But this was agriculture. It was grain. It was relating to land that God gave the Israelites. And it was never supposed to be income. And, my church is the actual real storehouse, right? Not your church, but my church, right? Like give me 10%. So probably in the 1900s, right? Like tithing wasn't a big thing in the United States, but then you start going, hey, what scripture can I use to justify this? That's how it came about. And the LDS Church, I'll give you an example. Their old president, Nelson, literally, I mean, this is in the religion business also, and we have clips on our social media that telling you why you need a tithe. You're 10%. And he tells you why. Because you do not want to be removed from God's list of children. You want to be protected in the day of vengeance, so you should tithe. So, you're an entrepreneur. We talked about this earlier, right? When there's entrepreneurs find a need that's out there and they fulfill that need because needs-based selling is the most powerful one. There's a problem that needs to get solved, right? Well, when there is no problem and there's no need, what do? You create one. So you instill the greatest amount of fear in that member.
Not getting to heaven.
There's the worst thing you could say to someone: if you don't do this, you're going to be removed from God's list of children. Who wants to be removed from God's list of children? Who wants to not be protected in the day of vengeance?
Give the 10%.
Give the 10%.
Just do it. Even though we don't have it, give it.
But that's where it comes about. And then, I mean, if they just stuck to the 10%, then there's the we're building a new building fund. We need more than just your 10%. We're doing an additional offering, right? Oh, hey, we're going to go give money to that nonprofit in Africa. You see these poor little kids? Our goal is to send $500,000 there. Well, that $500,000 may or may not end up there.
Meanwhile, you're sitting on 30-40 million.
Meanwhile, you're sitting on all that money, and there's all these people, like literally, you've got like people sleeping outside the church, like on the ground, homeless. But that's the government's responsibility, right? But that's how it works. But hey, you have a tax exempt status because you're supposed to be providing this gap in society, this concept of local social capital in producing an environment for human flourishing.
So I have a question for you, because if I'm just a normally everyday guy, I love God, I go to church every day, I don't want to discourage them from tithing. But how would you tithe?
Okay. That's a great question.
Okay, so I guess that's my question. Knowing everything you know and have uncovered about the churches and just the establishments as a whole, I don't want to turn people away, but at the same time, they need to know, how would you tithe? Knowing what you know now.
So tithing, again, the tithing is this concept of like this, it's a 10% thing. And I would say, God, this goes back to having an individual relationship with God and trusting what the Holy Spirit's telling you.
Okay.
And right on that, instead of I need to like do something that's legalistic, 10% is safe. If I do this, God's going to bless me. It's like, you know what? God may want you to just give away 2% of your money this year. God may want you to give away half of it. He may want you to give away 70% of it. But like, what is that going to? And one of the greatest things that's happened that's really hurt society is tax exempt status and tax write-offs. So it's like, oh, I'm going to donate. If you help your aunt that's in great need, who doesn't have health care and is dying, and you're helping her, that's probably not, she's not a 501c3. You're not going to get a tax write-off for it. But you can give to this organization that is a 501c3, and you get that. So stop limiting ourselves to where God tells us to give us money based upon whether you're a 501c3 or not, right? There is a single mom out there. Like I was at I hate, like, I don't even like mentioning like, oh, how I help somebody, but like there was a single mom who had a kid at dinner that like has severe autism, and the kid was sitting next to me, and I had my two daughters and three of their friends, and we're celebrating my youngest birthday. And this kid was like, he was kicking on me. He sneezed on me. He was like taking his little, kept going, hey, what is this? This is, and I was like, it's a panda bear, right? And he kept showing me all his little animals, and he was putting them in my plate that I'm eating on. It was just, and God's like, show him love.
Absolutely.
Show her love. Keep showing her love. And so God was like, you're going to buy, like, seriously, he's like, you're buying her dinner, and you're gonna walk out before her. She's not gonna know you're doing it or anything like that. And so God tells you how to help people, but you have to be willing to listen to God, and you have to be willing to spend time alone with God, and you have to be willing to read His Word. we rely way too much on, well, my pastor says that if you give 10%, like, you're going to have an abundance in your life.
Yeah.
That's like prosperity stuff. No, actually you may donate and
see nothing.
My
parents are a perfect example. They barely got by their whole life. But I mean, they'll put that, we were blessed enough to get to the next month. So I get it. But I love your answer, and that's how I truly feel. That's how my wife and I are. Going back to my parents, they just will not accept, because you need to tithe. Our last trip back, you need to tithe. You need to be tithing to your church. And I go, Mom, why do I need to tithe to the church when I can tithe directly to my community?
Yeah.
We just did something really nice for a veteran recently, not even through our charity, because the charity's retired, right? Found out this vet was looking for something. I could help him with it. But I didn't know that my wife had already heard a conversation with this guy, and she had already been working on it. So we finished this conversation, 2 completely different interactions with this vet.
Yeah.
I go to my wife, I'm like, hey, we need to get this. And she's like, I'm already working on it. And I'm like, she's like, are you cool with it? I'm like, I don't get it. Make it happen. If this little gesture that I can help this veteran that's been through hell be able to learn something that takes his mind off of it, okay. And then the fact that God put that on me and my wife, 2 different conversations, not even in the same building, and we both could come to that. It's a no-brainer, but I don't need to go to any church and, hey, I'm going to donate so you can help these people. It was just a gesture that I felt, hey, if this helps this dude get through to tomorrow, because now he has something to be able to focus on, why would I not? I'm not one of these people that give a homeless person money, but I pull up with our girls and I want to teach money. Besides money, how can I help you right now? Do you need food? Do you need clothing? Do you need blankets? What do you need? Because obviously I'm not going to enable an alcoholic or a drug addict.
Yeah.
I can't justify that in my own mind. But what else can I give you? But I don't need a church for that. And that's how I personally tithe. And my parents have just, forever. That's not, you need to go through the church. You need to 10% to the church. And I'm like, but I just helped this mom and her children for Christmas, and we were these secret Santas and just dumped bags of stuff at their door. You mean to tell me that's not helping my communities for some single mom that I know that my kids are able to pick out their gifts?
But you're not getting a tax write-off for it, and it's not a church. It's like, God doesn't care about that stuff. God cares about what you're doing is right. So I would, it'd be a fun question to ask your is it your mom that pushes on that?
It's both.
Both. So, Mom and Dad, got a question for you. Who appointed Pastor such and such to be a broker of God's resources?
Well, that would be my dad, since he's the pastor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Who appointed you?
Who appointed me? Yeah.
See what I'm saying? That's what I would ask.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
That's a great question, though, because
but it is. Well, it's something your dad will have to process and figure out as well too.
They're very small, like my dad actually preaches on islands in the summertime, and because we're in a real
but
remote
your dad's
area.
preaching the 10%, the tithe.
My whole life.
Yeah.
I don't know if he preaches it in his service because it's a super small little community, but they tied to the church my whole life. And that's one thing I've just never been able to figure out. I'm just like, this doesn't make sense to me.
So Chat GPT, if you go in there and ask about this concept of tithing,
really?
It actually tells you the truth about it. And it does not say that that's a mandatory thing that you're supposed to do.
So I don't want to say man-made tithing, but it's been
taken out of context to
stretched.
justify. And then there will be some people like Ruslan and with the whole Sean Ryan show and everything. He's like, he agrees with us on that it's not a mandatory 10%, but 10% is just a good rule. So it's just kind of like the fence. His pastor also says that we're kind of like the Levitical priesthood, right? Because the Levitical priesthood, that was part of it, is they were the ones that were taking care of the temple.
Okay.
And they were doing that type of function. But we're not in that, that's been fulfilled. We're in the Melchizedek priesthood, which means that Christ is our high priest, and that the veil's been torn, and that we have direct access to God through following the way, the truth, and the life. We no longer need to have a man that is running that interference for us.
Well, what's interesting to me is the tabernacle, right? And please tell me how I'm wrong in anywhere. But you had the tabernacle, then you had almost a wall. There was almost 3 layers to it, correct? Where some people couldn't even like
outer court, inner court, holies of holies.
So they would look. So the more holy you were, would get you closer to God.
Right.
But then if you weren't holy, you would have to tithe in order to get to the priest to be able to ask your prayers.
The high priest was the only one that would
high priest
go into that. And God's a God of order. So Aaron's sons, because they were in the Levitical priesthood, they were responsible. God had order in how he wanted things, like the fire was to come down from heaven. Well, I think they brought the fire themselves, and they went out of order with God, and he killed them immediately.
Yeah,
like he's a God of order. Or like if you weren't of that tribe, you weren't allowed to touch the Ark of the Covenant.
Okay.
And I think it was David was coming back, and a couple guys touched it to save it from falling that weren't of that, and they immediately died. So like all of that, like there was a lot of organization, a lot of order in what happened with the tabernacle, with the Ark of the Covenant and everything. And then today, like, again, like if we continue to live in that old world and not in the reality of the world, it's an insult to Christ.
For sure.
It is.
For sure. What's one of the worst religions that you guys have found so far as the money and the mismanagement of it?
So the LDS Church is the scariest one. I mean, you want to talk about like they're going to be $1 trillion organization within a decade. The amount of escape velocity and power that they have, they have strict tithing rules, and the cover-ups of things that happen there is just disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give you.
We were supposed to talk
examples.
on lawyers earlier. We didn't touch on that.
So here we go. So let's say you're abused. You're calling to report abuse in the church.
Okay.
I had a woman who was being abused as a child. She calls them up. You know who answers the phone when you call to report an abuse? Their law firm.
You go straight to the church's law firm?
Straight to the church's law firm.
That's interesting.
So things don't make it to the authorities. There's no mandatory reporting for child abuse with clergy. That's another loophole, which is in one of the objectives of our next episode is to get mandatory reporting for clergy. So if you find out that a kid is being abused at home, you are a mandatory reporter. You need to let the authorities know of that, period. If this kid's being abused at your church, mandatory report. Instead, it's cover up over cover up over cover up. And we have receipts on this type of stuff. This is the stuff we're just saying. There's a lot of satanic ritual abuse that's happened.
Inside the Mormon church?
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
Lots of very dark things like veils being put over children's faces while they're being abused.
It's not secret, bro. It's sacred.
It's disgustingly like these people.
It's my favorite line from them. It's not secret. It's sacred.
Gosh.
You sure about that?
Yeah. And then, this concept, right, where you've got covering for one another, right? I mean, there should be an investigation done in Utah with the Attorney General's office on the amount of stuff that's hit there that nothing happens with.
Here's a crazy one for you. We did an episode with a woman married in the Mormon church, perfect little Mormon family. Her husband's father, so her father-in-law is a stake president out in Arkansas.
Uh-huh.
The church helps his son fund Ozark Trails Academy for troubled teens.
Okay.
She finds out her husband's molesting her own children.
Wow.
And the LDS, and so her father-in-law, which is a stake president, is tied in with the judges, the courts. In these small communities, she ends up losing full custody. They took her kids from her and gave them to the grandmother that the kids in the statements verbally said that the grandmother or the grandfather and the son that all live under the same roof were molesting them. All a horrible episode to listen to just because of the
I'm very familiar with the story.
Oh, really?
Very.
Loses all her kids.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's insane. But the only thing that makes sense to me is that the stake president has pull. The church, the Mormon church, will do whatever it takes to hush hush shit.
Yeah.
And then you're telling me this mom that brings up child abuse from her own husband now lost custody of her own children because she didn't document it properly, but she has. I have a thumb drive with every piece of document on it, and I'm like, how does that make sense?
Well, it
That's
doesn't.
fascinating that you've.
I mean, yeah, because I mean the connections that they had politically and the cover-ups and then the removing of people from being on certain registry lists and all sorts of stuff.
People think that we're just making this shit up, like especially the Mormon community. That no, and I get it. They're not the ones that are involved in it. They're just you and I going to a church
within the system.
Yeah, we're sheep within a system. But we live in the era of knowledge, and guys like you are doing God's work and putting this out there, and that's why I open my platform up to anybody that can talk about any of this type of stuff, because this is, I feel, some of the most important bits of knowledge and information that isn't going to be pushed through social and by our government and the news, because it's not starving kids in Africa. It's not a war. And it's mind boggling to me that, and then when we air these episodes, cause right, you got Sean Ryan, he's the mega podcast, right?
Yeah, he's good.
And then you got us little starving churches out here that are just scraping by on podcasts. So when we get these stories, and then all of a sudden the hundreds and hundreds of people that either know, I have kids that went to Ozark Academy. That was what it's called, right?
Yes, Ozark Trail.
Yeah, Ozark Trail Academy. I have kids that have reached out that want to come on and talk about their experiences. So now you have a guy that is now accused of molesting children. These parents are signing over their custody rights. So when their kids go to these facilities, now you have a child predator molester that owns a facility for troubled teens, all funded and backed by the Mormon church. And then when it all gets outed, everything just goes away and the mom loses custody and everything's hush.
No justice.
You cannot sit here and say like, dude, no, that's not true. You're absolutely ignorant if that's the case.
Dark money covers up. They use the dark money to cover up the sins.
When you have trillions of dollars in your bank account, you can literally look at our politicians. You can get away with whatever you want, and they're not even rich. They're just stealing our money.
Speaking of politicians, what the hell was Lindsey Graham doing by himself at Disney? Did you see that?
Bro, I saw a little bit of it.
Did you see that?
I love that people now, you're not safe anymore.
Yeah. Like what? Like he has no kids, not married.
Don't get me started on Disney people, bro.
Yeah.
I've been saying it for years, and my wife's always told me, she's like, you can't put this stuff out. She's like, a lot of my clients are Disney people because with real estate and stuff.
Yeah.
Don't give a shit. If you're a grown ass adult and Disney is your thing, there's
something wrong.
I put them in the same category, and they can clip this. They can roast me all they want. You are on the same shelf as trans, all the other mentally deranged things that just don't make sense to me. Disney adults that you're screaming and running to a dressed up character. Now you have kids, and you got Disney kids and all this shit.
Oh my gosh.
Do your thing, right?
Yeah.
Do your thing. Think Jesus. We went through a little Disney phase, but we weren't Disney people. But I supported. We had Disney princesses come to the house for birthdays and
right.
Cool. You're a grown ass adult and you do not have children and you're going to Disneyland. You are mentally deranged, in my opinion. There is something sick about that because there's video and they're screaming and running to a dude dressed up as Minnie Mouse.
Something's off.
I had a buddy. I stopped being friends with him because he had season passes to Disney and he had no kids and he would just take dates there. I'm like, bro, you go to Disneyland? Oh man, women love it. I'm like, dude, not for me. Not for me.
So Lindsey Graham's out there, but like this is the same guy who allegedly was coaching Netanyahu on how to get Trump to strike Iran. This is the same guy who loves getting us in wars.
He's
a deranged man,
shit.
and he's a closet homosexual.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. They all are.
Yeah.
That's where, when we get into the depths of how evil our government is, it's terrifying. It's terrifying how these people sell their souls, how the entertainment industry sell their soul. And when I always used to hear people talk about, oh, he sold his soul. It's a thing. I truly believe it is a thing. These politicians, and that you're taking money from AIPAC, and it's funded by the owner. Now it's, I don't want to ever see anybody pass, but the founder of OnlyFans just died of cancer last week or whatever this week.
Yeah. Elon's considering acquiring it
and shutting it down.
Just shut it down.
But you're telling, here we have our politicians, and you're standing there, I'm representing the people and I'm going to do this for y'all. But you just took money from a pornographic website that helps teenage girls exploit themselves. And now you're the largest donor to our politicians. And then here we are, we the people. Yeah, he's great. And I'm sitting here going, they're taking money from girls that are taking their clothes off on the internet, and then they're funding these motherfuckers to sit here and talk and tell us whatever we want. How do you not fall for this?
I think that entire industry just needs to straight up be legal. Like, let's quit messing with it. The damage that it does to society, and the damage that it does to men, and the damage it does to women.
Mm-hmm.
Like, risk reward. Like, the risk on that and what it does to society is not worth whatever reward that you're getting from
it's
it.
all a lot. This is kind of TMI. Maybe I think she's heard these. I dated a porn star when I was younger, young and dumb, whatever. I got pulled into the behind the scene, the backside of the industry.
Wow.
As a young Marine, I was like, oh, dude, tell all my boys.
You thought you were the man.
Oh, bro.
Yeah. You were literally the devil dog, huh?
I'd start going to these parties. I start getting into the industry side of things.
Wow.
And it was one of these things where, and I talk about it because porn addiction for me, never. And this is what I think what rooted it was I saw how those women were treated. And here I am, a young Marine. I don't give a shit about anything. I got no morals, no ethics. I don't feel anything. I am just a machine. It was so disgusting to me, and how degrading I would see in their face.
Yeah.
Their body demeanors would change. And I would sit there and watch. And I'm like, oh my God, this is...
What a blessing, though, that you got to see that, though.
It really was. I didn't see it for years until recent years, and because I help a lot of men in my community, and they battle porn addiction. It's a huge thing, but I can't personally talk them through. So that's why I had to find experts that have been through the trenches with these guys. But I really started like trying to peel away. Okay, why have I never gotten pulled in? I've seen it my whole life, dude. You know how the military is. We used to go on patrol to other houses in our AO for the grunts, and I would have one of my troops box up a MRE box full of Playboys. We would patrol to another house, radio ahead of time. Hey, we're coming. We're going to swap. And we would swap Playboys, hard drives. So porn in the industry is like in the military it's like drinking. It's just hand in hand.
Yeah.
But after I got into the industry and how I saw that, it killed it for me. And so you saying just what it does to these girls, and they think just because you put it out there, you could delete it one day. I mean, it's a terrifying thing. And how many of these young girls fall into it by getting groomed, and it was just the creepy old dudes. And I'm sitting there, you're letting this fucking dude talk to you like this? Like, there was times where I'd be like, yo, bro, like, no, we're not, I'm out. I can't. And so it's a disgusting, dark, demonic world. And I got a little taste of it, and I was, not for me, even at that state in my life. And it's hard for people to kind of grasp because of who I used to be. Shouldn't have bought. I was down for anything. I would just ride or die. Cool, I'm in. And I thought that was the shit. And then I saw that, and it hit me in my guts. I'm like, this is not for me. Can't support this.
And then God knew you were going to have two little girls.
Sense of humor, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm over here just trying not to beat the shit out of everybody that's staring at these creepy old dudes, how they look. I actually just did a video. I didn't post it yet, but I'm in the gym, and there's a nobody talks about this as a girl dad. There's a phase as your little girls grow and they start to develop and become young women. There's a phase where men start looking at them in certain ways. And as a good father, good dad that's intentional with my kids and watching their surroundings to protect them, I notice these things, and especially being military and just who I used to be and watching everything.
Operation, everyone comes home every day, right?
100%. Yeah. So I've watched this evolve over the years, especially with my oldest, which has now built this sixth sense in me to where I can almost watch dudes' body languages. And now it's to the point, I was in the gym yesterday and I'm on the stairs, I'm just doing my cardio, and there's a young girl in there and she's wearing everything to stand out. But my eyes don't go to her. I start watching how these men our age are staring at these girls. And it's so disgusting to me how they'll position themselves. So if the girl's walking and they'll position, so the girl walks by, and it's like, motherfucker, I just watched you.
Yeah. How old are these girls?
Teens, young teens,
yeah.
My daughter's age. And the fact that that's what you're attracted to. And there's a lot of us out there that don't have that little girl, young woman gene that we find attractive.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of men that do. And it sucks for the good men, because now I understand when you see these videos and men are dogs and they're all pigs. I can't argue it because I'm watching this young teenage girl, granted, probably dressed a little bit better in the gym, but I'm watching just these men. And I'm like, you probably have daughters her age that you're staring at. And that's the phase. That's what, that's where I'm at in my life, where I'm watching. I'm like, yeah, dude. And they'll look and I'll make eye contact and be like, yeah, dude, watch you.
So what would happen if that was your daughter walking by?
I step in between.
Yeah.
I'll sit in the airport with her and be like, watch this guy. He's about to turn and look at this girl. Oh my God, how'd you know? It's how men are.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. It's how we are.
I want to unpack this concept of how men are, because I feel as a society, we are where we're at. Like you were talking about this frustration earlier, like how do we get out? I mean, to unwind the political, religious, nonprofit layers of bureaucracy and corruption that have just overbuilt. You're just like, what do we do? How do we do this? And how do we get out of this? And it's, being a single man and having gone out on some dates with some women, and they talk to me about, I'll talk to a woman who's very feminist, and I want to break this down with her. I'm curious, innocently curious. The dork in me wants to know, how do you become the way you are? I just want to know. There was no man in her life, maybe growing up. She was a single mom working 2 jobs to provide for her kids. All in all, almost every story that you see, and when you look at how society is this concept of men not stepping up and leading.
Broken home, fatherless.
Yeah. You look at when you look at the people who end up in jail, oftentimes they came from fatherless homes.
Mm-hmm.
This concept of a father is a very powerful one, but a good father, one that's strong and leads. This whole thing with the fall of society and all this transgender stuff that was going on, even this crap with Israel, and these are just weak. It's weak men, a bunch of beta male weak men that don't step up, don't want to walk in the light, don't want to step up in front of the fire, because you know what? It's hard as hell.
It sucks.
It sucks.
It sucks.
It's not fun.
Mm-mm.
But men have been trained that, period. You have quick access to stuff. You can just swipe right and go on a date with somebody. You don't have to go have a conversation with somebody.
Yep.
You can just order food to your house. You can watch pornography like that on the access that men have to things. But as a result of all of this, women have had to step up and fill a void in society.
For sure.
That men have failed to fill.
For sure. We're very old school in how we've raised our daughters.
I love it.
And, a husband's role and the father is to lead the home. I set the tempo. This is my home. These are my rules. But my wife doesn't stand behind me. She stands beside me. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of times where I make mistakes, but then she checks me on this. And that's where you look back and everybody wants to be this boss babe and all this stuff now. But if you looked at a queen that her husband ruled an empire, she was, I don't think so. No, you're not. You need to shut up. That's not how it was. She would let her husband get their kingdom in the wars, out of war, whatever it may be. But behind closed doors, that's when you have those conversations.
Yeah.
But I feel now, like we were kind of just saying on that break, the Andrew Tates, women belong in the kitchen. And it's when I say old school, we're raising our kids to court, to date, to get to know people, because now it's like the world is, I have buddies that are in the dating world that are my age, and I am petrified if I ever had to go through that, because they're just like, dude, it's insane out here. Right?
It is.
And then I'm looking at my teenage daughter, I'm like, good luck, kid, because of these boys. And they're not, I feel men aren't raising men anymore. It's very few. I just complimented one of my buddies, one of the only few dudes out there that has raised a true man from a boy to now this man that represents him. And I'm just like, dude, fine. There's one out of.
Well, the internet's raising, the internet mixed with institutions is what's raising most children out there. It's not apparent.
It's clear as day. I mean, I went to the gym with her the other night, and there's these boys her age, and I'm watching them, and just, I'm not picking on these kids, but if they actually spent time working out, they would actually probably have muscle. But they're just flexing, and they're doing this, and they spend 30 minutes in there, and they walk around in circles, peacocking. What I get, we've all been through those phases in the gym, not knocking it. But I'm looking at her.
Like, bro, what are you peacocking?
I'm like, dude,
now
just pick up
working out.
Yeah, you weigh 100 pounds, bro. Of course you have a six pack. You're 100 pounds. Like, come talk to me when you're 200 pounds and shredded. That's more of an accomplishment. But I'm looking at her, and I'm like, oh my God, this is your dating.
By the
pool?
way, when you get to 200, you're going to be shredded.
I'm 227 right now.
Yeah.
So I dropped from 250 to 218 on that fast.
What's your goal?
I don't have one.
Yeah.
I just want to feel good looking.
But I saw you getting excited there. You'd see the abs coming through.
Oh, yeah, they're coming. They're coming.
That's
I've been crushing it. So, anyways, yeah, it's been a journey, but it's just this world we're in now, and these fathers aren't leading their homes anymore. I think they're too distracted.
Yeah.
Too busy with work. Too busy with life. I just saw a study, and I put in my community that on average, a couple years ago, it was 13 minutes a day. And I think it's down to 7 minutes a day on average of what a father is spending quality, uninterrupted time, no phones, no distractions, 7 minutes a day.
And that's usually in car rides. You think about it.
7 minutes. You bring a child into this world, at least how I think is my job, sons, daughters, all in between, is to raise this next generation, to put a legacy out there. If they continue my family name on or not, that's my legacy. And I'm going to spend 7 minutes a day with them. How do you do anything with 7 minutes a day? You're going to get to know your children. You're going to be able to instill in your daughters integrity, confidence, morals, values when you're talking to them for let's say it's double that, 14 minutes a day.
So in today's society, we talk about like traditional homes, right?
Yeah.
So most moms work, most dads work.
Mm-hmm.
There's often, if they're higher end successful, they're going to have nannies. So your kid goes to school, wakes up around 6 something, goes to school in the morning, then has sports, gets home at 6 o'clock, has 2 hours of homework, and wants to chat with their friends a little bit, needs to shower up, get cleaned up, get ready for the next day. It's bedtime.
Mm-hmm.
That 7 minutes is like, that's like when I look at the breakout of the day, I'm not surprised at all when we say that. It's just crazy when you think about it though. And then what bad can happen out of that? A lot. Like you have an institution shaping the minds of your kids, right? You have other people teaching your kids faith. You have other people teaching your kids about sports, which I understand, like that might not be your thing, but mom's working, dad's working. Who's loving on those kids?
No one.
Who knows what's really going on in their kids' lives? So like
their friends.
Their friends do, maybe. And the thing is too, is like when I look at what I break things down into 4 pillars in relationships and in a man's role. So everyone wants to feel safe, because when you feel safe, you can tap into your masculine energy. Your wife can type into her feminine energy. And your daughters get to see that.
Yep.
They get to witness that. So that's what she's going to want to look for in a man one day. That's what like, you know, your daughters are going to emulate your wife's energy and all that kind of stuff when she's in that feminine energy. In order for that to happen, we all have to feel safe in 4 areas: financially, fiscally, emotionally, and spiritually. And the man's to lead. So the man as the financially, right? Making sure our bills are going to get paid.
Yep.
Like I'm always going to go hunting for food. You're always going to eat and such. Physically, that you're not an abuse. You know, we're not abusive people. We're not abusing the people in our households. That if someone ever did try to do anything, they're going to have to come through. They're going to have to come through us, and it's not going to be a good day for them.
Yep.
Emotionally, like, can I speak my feelings and emotions and articulate them in a way, or is it walking on eggshells and there's an explosion?
That was me for a long time in this house.
I get that. Same here.
Mm-hmm.
And then spiritually, like, I am the spiritual leader of our family, right? I am responsible for that. And so on the flip side of that, that's the environment we create. And then your wife's able to really get in her feminine energy. Your kids are able to see that. That's a very beautiful, safe zone to be in. Safety is number one. And then on the flip side, a man's got to feel safe in those areas physically. You're not going to be mouthing off to people and getting me in fights. You're not going to be using me for money or driving us into financial peril. Emotionally, you're not going to be like putting me down every 2 seconds, and you're going to be encouraging me, loving me. And love is not all sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes you need to tell me things I don't want to hear.
Oh yeah.
And then spiritually, like, are you willing to submit? And submission gets blown out in this toxic way of like, go get in the kitchen and go blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, like, I'm supposed to love you as Christ loved the church. What does that look like? Mm-hmm. And you're to submit to that, which is a very beautiful thing.
It really is.
And that's when people feel safe. That whole model, like, I'm like in the single world and dating, I have these conversations with women and such, because they are blown away because it's such a foreign concept. Like, if a man prays at dinner, they're just like, oh my gosh, no one does that. Opens up the door, pays the bills, and all that kind of stuff, right? Like, I had gone out on a date one time, and a girl was like, let me get this one, and you can get the next one. And I'm like, no.
No.
In fact, that was a very unattractive thing.
For sure.
You were being sweet. You have good intentions, but that's very unattractive to me.
For sure.
Yeah, so like,
especially as a traditional man, it's almost offensive that you would even offer, because the fact that you've dated so many men that have probably made you pick up the bill at that point just shows.
Yeah, I don't need to ever rely on a man in my life. I run circles. Men are so weak. I run circles around most of them. That's a lot of their mindsets, and that's how they get into this.
And you're alone, so
yeah.
You're all this stuff, but you're single and you're miserable and alone.
Yeah.
So and that's where it took me a long time for when my wife was the leader of our home spiritually.
Yeah.
And she would start sending me these things and these studies and the research that showed the difference in children that were raised with a mother that was the spiritual leader of the home versus a father that was a spiritual leader of the home, and how much confidence and everything was 10x just having a dad that believed and was a spiritual leader in their home. 10x anything that the mother did. I don't know if you've seen those numbers.
I've heard of a little bit of it. I haven't actually seen the numbers.
And you just sit back and think, oh my God, like this, just you being present in a home is huge as a father. And then you add the leader of your home adds even more to your children's confidence and everything else that you're going to instill in them. And then when you add the spiritual leader, it was, God, I should yell down to the wife. The numbers are insane. It was 85% of kids that grow up or something with dads that are the spiritual leader of their home end up leading their families to become believers in Christ versus just a mom that was a believer. It's unreal. I'll ask the wife when we get done with it. I know she'll remember it, but it's just wild of what, and this is why I hate seeing couples break up in divorce over the dumbest shit. Finances. Well, my wife and I have literally counted pennies where we were hawking jewelry at pawn stores, and we've had our disagreements, and we've gotten some heated discussions over it because of shit she did behind my back. It is what it is. It's for the right reasons. But there's nothing you should ever divorce over. I get that there's certain circumstances, right? I always get what about? I get it. But there's not much. If you are not hurting children, women, animals maliciously, and you could work through damn near anything.
You can.
You could work through it all. Those are my three things. If you're going out of your way to be abusive, demonic, whatever it may be toward those three things.
Straight up evil.
Evil. Yeah. Nobody has room for anything in their life like that. Everything else, I mean, obviously, if you're being abusive and you're not changing, there comes a time, but you watch what happens in these broken homes. And I mean, obviously, you're still, obviously in your kid's life.
Yeah.
But a lot of these dads, they just check out, and then you're just leaving these children because these women want. The crazy thing is, I just watched this thing on menopause. 67% of divorces happen from women starting and going into the menopause phase.
Interesting. I'd never heard of that.
Yep. And then they started throwing all these numbers out there of the divorce rate and ages. And it was all a huge, it was in the 60s, 65, 67% of divorces were initiated by the women that were starting or going into their menopause phases.
An interesting point of their life to choose to.
They hate it switches. They hate you. It's why they just wake up one day and they hate their husbands because of the chemical and everything's switching. So my wife and I have that. She's big on. She's terrified of going into like premenopause because we have such a great relationship. She's like, if I just wake up one day and I hate you, she's like,
why?
If we talk about what the kids like, we need to start working on it and find reasons. So there's actually I've been looking deep in rabbit holes on peptides.
Take peptides. I was gonna say take peptides.
I just partnered up with a freaking peptide company. It's changed my life.
I'm a firm believer in that.
I held off on it for a long time, but now I'm. Everybody that comes to me, guy, man, I'm getting surgery. Get on these peptides before you get on surgery. Having a hard time losing this belly fat. Here's a peptide. They're incredible.
Yeah,
incredible.
I can't sleep. Here's a peptide.
Exactly. Yeah. Until we find out like 10 years from now, the studies that come out. So, but they're actually the studies that are coming out. It's reversing cancer.
It's natural occurring within your body.
Yeah.
So I tell one of the things that gets me going is they hand out TRT, testosterone, like candy to people, and it causes men's hair to fall out. It causes all sorts of stuff. And it's like, hey, before you jump someone on testosterone, peptides, natural occurring, helps your body produce more testosterone.
What it's already doing.
Naturally. Yes. You're not injecting testosterone into your body. And so I'm a huge, because I started taking peptides 5.5 years ago, and I've been sick twice in 5 years.
Good for you.
I used to get sick, like legit, at least 2 to 3 times a year.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you travel as much as you do. Good for you.
Yeah, I'm a huge believer in it, and I refuse to take straight up testosterone though. That's where my boundary is, because like if you take like Glow for example, guys, TRT will cause your hair to fall out.
Yep.
You take like stuff like Glow, copper, and all that, it does the opposite.
So now they just dropped a new one. Clo, I believe, is
I heard about Clo.
It's the next version of that. I was actually just doing research on this the other day because I wanted to see what was the hype about it. But there's some pretty crazy stuff out there.
But it's just like anything else, right? Like 5 years ago, very few people knew about peptides, and now everyone knows about peptides, and therefore it's turning into this. Like, can you really trust where you get it from?
That's the thing.
Legitimately go through a place that knows the pharmacy that's doing it.
Third party test.
Get your blood work. Get your blood work done. Make sure you know what it is you're putting in your body. Take ownership of it. It's a
tool.
It's a game changer for a lot of people, and I understand it. It's expensive, but it's life changing.
Here we are. Yeah, why not? I think a lot of it got a bad rap with GLP-1.
Yeah.
And then obviously Ozempic, the big pharma jumped on that one. And that to me, that was mind boggling. That was like the vaccine for me when people were jumping on this and the immediate side effects and deteriorating bone growth and causing bone cancer and all to lose weight. And then now you're skinny fat. It's just none of
fat. I know.
None of that made sense to me. I was like, just go on a diet, man. Like before you
can almost tell when someone's on Ozempic.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time. Yeah. I have a bunch of buddies that jumped on it. And I'm like, I've worked out a majority of my life, and I've never seen anybody lose 80 pounds in 2 months.
I'm like, something's
you get a little,
not right
little
there.
help from somewhere. What else we got for you, man? We didn't touch any of your military stuff, but anything else on the churches? I know we could probably talk for hours, which I'm cool with, but We went into the boss babe thing, which kind of took us a detour. I don't know if we ended up finishing that as far as the structure of the home.
Yeah, so on this concept, right? Like, our job as parents is, I talked about like the 4 pillars and the safety and such, but ultimately is getting our children prepared to have a relationship with God, right? So, like, I used to think my kids turn 18, they're on their own, they're legally adults, out the door. I had this conversation with my kid's mom, who's, I would say, a lot more of the line of like, you go to college and everything, right? Very, I want to say like just more kind of like our generation of how we grew up, which was
our parents.
Yes, still in that kind of
get
realm.
9 to 5, go to college.
Go work, go do that, go get some experience, and go do good things. And I had this conversation with her yesterday. We were talking because one of my kids is very interested in going down the homeschool path, and I'm like, I want to hear him out.
Yeah,
I want to hear him out. Let's hear him out. You know, we'll figure it out. But like, why, like, let's hear it out. And I told her, I said, hey, I used to think that when they turned 18, they were adults and they're on their own, right? And you know, I've been you have them on a calendar. Oh yeah, I'll be an empty nester. I'm like, actually no. Like, my kids don't need. They never need to leave. They don't need to leave our home. There's no, like, especially my daughters. Like,
why push them? Why
push them? So they can go to college and have a party experience because that's a great experiment. I was like, unless they want to be a lawyer, a doctor, or something like that requires a degree, or if they want to play college sports, you go to college.
Cool. You're gonna get your full ride.
You know, go. You know, if you want to go pick up a trade, go do that. Or if you're interested in being an entrepreneur, which I hope all of you all become one of some sort, like, let's figure out what you like doing. And instead of me spending all this money on college for you, I'll invest in your business and I'll teach you lessons that I didn't learn until I was over 40 years old.
That you couldn't pay for that lesson.
You can't.
There's money could not buy the experience of having, and I know not every parent's an entrepreneur, cool, but if you were able to just teach your kids or give them a lesson, they're not learning it. You're going to go to college and learn a business degree, get a business degree from a professor that doesn't own a business.
Yeah.
Make that make sense.
It doesn't.
Oh, wow. You wrote a book that you sold some online and that's what you consider your business?
You're a professor, dude.
Meanwhile, I got my 17-year-old that's learning and 11-year-old learning everything about business.
Yeah. Your 11-year-old running a business.
It's that to me, and obviously we've made major sacrifices to do this, but as a parent, that's just how my mind works. Okay, I and going along with you saying you don't want your kids to leave. Like, I worked with a guy that had a countdown on his computer, and every day he'd log in and he'd be like, oh,
child support ends. Yeah, no, I mean,
and I'm over here telling her, don't leave. It does not make any sense that I'm going to send an 18-year-old child out into the world to go to college, immediately get yourself in debt. You're starting your life out in debt. Make that make sense. Then this debt that you just accrued over the last 4, 6, 8 years, you got this paper that says that you have a degree. Now you're not even going to use it on anything that you got this debt on. Now you're working anywhere that'll hire you because now all these major companies are dropping the standards on education levels. Everything that used to be a bachelor's is now an associate's, a master's is now a bachelor's. So they're now seeing the curve and what's going on. And not to mention the life skills, the critical thinking, the business mindset of just being able to stay at home, learn from our failures, learn from the successes, see everything that it takes to do this. And this might not be an entrepreneur is not for everybody. No, it sucks.
It's awful.
It's a grind. Oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, work for myself so I don't have to work 40 hours a week. Well, guess what? You're working 80 hours a week.
You're always working.
Always working. Middle of the night, you're taking a shower. Okay, I got to do this. I mean, the best conversations and business ideas are like in a shower just because it's the only time to think.
Peace. Yeah.
But it's like, why would you not give that to your children to at least have in their tool bag so when they walk out of the door one day, whatever age it may be, you could sit there and go, okay, cool. All right. She knows margins. She knows how to build. She knows marketing. She knows customer service. She knows sales, cost of goods. The fact that my 11-year-old, this was last year, she was 10. She goes, okay, so if we raise that loaf an extra $3, that means we make more money, right? That's more of a margin. And I'm like,
wow.
Yes. Now, I'm not saying she's going to have a bakery her whole entire life, but she'll be able to roll anything that she's learning into more businesses or whatever it may be. And that's just where, in our lifestyle that we chose to pick, not throwing shade if you don't be able to do it, but as an adult, as a parent, I want my kids leaving the house with the most skills that they can have. And I guarantee you, if you pulled your kid, the one kid, you would watch him start to develop.
That's the thing is I know he would.
The fact that he's already thinking that, they're done with school in 2 hours. 2 hours a day.
That's all you need.
Guess what? Hey, you have 2 hours. You're not. No way. That's what it really came to, is starting this. The putting her in charge of the podcast and our little in the bakery. We have too much time. I'm not sitting here all day with these kids. We have work to do. Life still has to go on, even though we've built the life that we have. Life continues as far as business. I can't have an 8-year-old in our shit 24/7. How do we do this? Let's build a business. Let's see how she could just sell some bread from the porch, and then it's grown. And now we look back. Okay, cool. We've learned these skills because you're done with school in 2 hours a day, and you have the rest of the day to figure out whatever you want to do. And guess what? We're going to figure out a business. Bread? Perfect. Good. You're going to learn. Now you walk in, you see she's in the kitchen.
She's working.
We're up here doing this, but she's learning. They're developing new cookies or flavors or whatever it may be, but it's just getting that time that you have, but you'll watch your kid, even though he's a twin, right?
Yep.
I would love to see if you made that decision and then watch the entrepreneur mind. Hey, buddy, you're coming to work with me today.
Yeah.
This is what we're learning today. This is who we're going to go talk to. I just need you to sit here, just listen to how dad talks. I don't know how many times I've sat in business meetings, stuck them in a corner. Hey, I don't care if you draw, not seen, not heard during this meeting, but I want you to listen. If you can, sit in the corner, just whatever. They've sat in the corner with, we sat at a table and the CEO of Shields, president of Buckle, they're sitting there listening to these conversations, and they're just learning how these guys talk at this level of wealth. These men that have built from nothing to these CEOs of multi-million, $100 million companies, to be able to just hear their dad having these conversations. Just put it in the back. Just plant the little seed back there.
Where are you going to get that education? You're not.
Some professor?
No. It's just not going to happen.
You sitting in college, hung over in your next class the next day, and you just went on a binger because your parents are paying for your dorm and everything else, and now you don't care because it's not your money. They're not putting into it. But in the fact, you're like, hey kid, this has potential of turning into something. May not, but we'll go on to the next one. And that's what we really tried to just get their mind almost untrained from the public system. Untrained from, hey, this is how you become a worker bee. You're going to sit in this class, in these desks, in a row. Raise your hand when you have a question to say something. Raise your hand if you got to go to the bathroom. No, we don't think like this. Here's our standardized testing. How is every kid going to come across standard testing? I never reached any of those. And here I am. I look back at everybody in my class now. I'm like, I was the class clown, the jock, the retard that didn't pay attention to anything, screwed off, detention every other day, suspended constantly. Here I am, never working for anybody, living the freest life that I could ever imagine. Not wealthy. I'm wealth in everything that I have, but money in the bank. We have enough to just live a free life. And that's, I think, the goal where a lot of people miss it is we look at these entrepreneurs and what success is. Dude, success is and I'm one of those. Like, success is whatever you want to make it. If your goal of success is to have 10 mil in the bank, chase it. What are you going to give up in that meantime? If you're a single dude and you're in real estate and you're crushing it and that's your goal, run it. You got a family? Hey, okay, how do I bring my kids along? How do I get my kids involved in this? And start thinking. And I got a buddy that's a landscaper. He's got a 15-year-old kid, never worked a day in his life. Put his ass on a weed eater for a whole summer and watch.
He'll break.
Watch the skills he's going to learn and put him on a mower, just lawn after lawn after lawn, grinding it out. Because he's going to be like, okay, Dad, how do I not be the guy that's pushing the mower? How do I build my own mowing company?
Mm-hmm. The best quality time that I get with my sons, because I'm a dog at the gym. I'm like, we're going to the gym. We're going to go train.
Yep.
and
bring them with you.
Yeah, and we have great conversations, and I've got like my coaches are like my brothers, and so they pour into my boys as well too. But like hard work, working hard together,
because that's the one thing that you can't buy as a physical appearance. I mean, you can obviously with steroids and shit, but you still have to work your ass off.
Work.
And when your kids, and it's annoying a little bit that when you start bringing them because you just want to get your workout, at least I'm in and out. But when you take that time and you start showing your your kids proper movements, then they get excited about it. Then they, damn dude, look at that pump you got. And you get a little bit of confidence. Hey dad, you're going back to the gym. And then guess what? Now you got a workout partner. It might suck for the first year or two because they can't spot you. They're young teenagers. They're in there staring at everything, distracted by the world. But then you'll start seeing that. And then all of a sudden it's like, yo, okay, get me on this next spot. Hey, they already know the weights they're putting on.
Yeah.
That's just that rhythm of building that type of relationship.
And then in the combat sports and the martial arts side of things, that is, that's been a blessing for me in my life. But like one of the concepts I've learned from my coach is Guy Metzger, who's a former UFC champion, brilliant guy. And he's like, you need to be a man of peace. And I was like, what does that mean? And he goes, you have to be capable of great violence in order to be a man of peace. Because if you're not capable of great violence, peace is your only option.
Yep.
And so you'll always just fall to that. But when it comes down to it, seek peace. But what if you have to defend your family? You're going to get a violent person.
Yep.
Right? So this concept of like, we're missing that so badly in society.
We are.
Be a man of peace. Don't be a keyboard warrior. Be a man of peace. But you need to be capable of violence.
Absolutely. That's what my wife said. That she said it's one of the most attractive things. She goes, I have seen the capabilities of violence that you can inflict, but I've never had to fear it in our own home.
Yeah.
Be the warrior in the garden.
Isn't that a beautiful thing?
Yeah.
Because she knows that you could wipe someone out in 2 seconds, but you choose not to. Why? Because of love. Because you fear God. And fearing God is the beginning of understanding, right? Things in life start to make a lot more sense when we actually fear God.
Oh.
Because you could solve some problems pretty quickly with your hands. Really quickly. But is that the right answer?
No.
No.
I love that, though. It's crazy, the chapters, and I don't know if you've been a religious guy your whole life, but obviously, like, I fell away from mine.
Oh, no, I walked away from God. I lived in...
For how long?
Multiple worlds. All right, let's see here. As far as my memory goes back, I've always believed that Christ is who he says he was, right? And says he is, which is the Son of God, and we receive our salvation through him, and he's the way, the truth, and life, and the Father. I've always believed that.
Yep.
I went through, and I would say up until the time I was 21, and then when I turned 21, I started drinking, and then I started chasing women.
Yep.
And then I started thinking that was,
Life.
you know, the military guy. Yeah, like you have false idols, like, you know, Top Gun Maverick, right? That was my idol. What does he do? Works hard, plays hard, gets the girl at the end of the night, and everyone loves Maverick. He's the man. Everyone wants to be Maverick. And I wanted to be that guy.
Yeah.
And so I went down that path. That's what the cool guys do and all that kind of stuff. I also, I mean, grew up thinking, you know, like raised that way as well too. So I would vacillate between having my, you know, come to Christ moments, and then I'd lock in, and then I would slowly, as I started feeling my life getting comfortable again, drift. And then when I decided to put the bottle down 6 years ago and started dealing with my crap, all the things that I hadn't dealt with, and then you know, wrestling with things, and then you finally realize, well, the only way is through the truth, right? That's the only way through. And so seeking the truth and using the truth to get through situations, bring peace between, you know, my kid's mom and I were at odds for several years.
Was a lot of that because of the drinking?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Definitely a huge part of it. And I've accepted full responsibility for my side of things with that. And I have with my kids too. And it took about 4 years to really kind of like, oh, dad actually isn't drinking. Dad's actually kind of who he says he is. Dad's actually owning his part on things, right?
Which
Dad
is
actually
huge.
seeks forgiveness. So God takes this awful situation and turns it into something beautiful.
Yep.
And I personally, listen, I have no problems being around alcohol. Like it doesn't do well with me. It just, I don't do well drinking alcohol. I'm not one of those guys that's like, yeah, I can just have a cocktail or two. Yeah, maybe 5 of the times, but on that 6th or 7th time, I'm going to push it because I feel free. I feel alive when I drink and all that. And so walking away from that really, and then this concept of, I remember this. So when I got injured in the Army, this is in 2012, I remember I picked up a book, right? And this was one of those kind of Jesus moments in my life where I'm like, this is my identity. It just got taken away from me overnight. Like, what do I do? So this was blocked in, and I'm reading, and the book's called Not a Fan.
Okay.
And the whole central theme of the book is there are a lot of people that are fans of Christ. They want the bumper sticker. They wear the cross, right? I realized that was me.
For sure.
And then it was like, no, you're supposed to pick up your cross and follow him daily. And I'm like, yeah, I can do that, but not in this area and not in that area. So I try to live and, straddle where, so when I started putting my money behind picking up a cross and following me, because a lot of people are like, oh, you're making a ton of money on this religious business. No, I've lost a ton of money personally, tons. And
yeah, you're battling Goliath.
Yeah, and God is saying, keep following me, keep going, keep going. And when you realize something so precious and secure as money in this world is being spent on something that you feel like God is telling you, follow me with it, when you finally just submit, there's a great peace to that.
Yeah.
But it was in all areas of my life that I had to submit that. And of course, I'm human. I still struggle with things and all that. But the last 2 years of my life have been very transformative since I've been on the religion business journey.
How so?
So you realize really quickly that you need to be who you say you are if you're gonna really call people out. Like,
you have to have your shit
you have
together.
to be able to walk in the light also, right?
For sure.
And so, and then putting your money behind it also, and it not working out the way you financially thought it would work out, then you're like, you really start to see that happening, and then you start to see the fruit of that developing with your own children. Your children are like, you are who you say you are.
Yep.
And that's a beautiful thing. But for me, it's just been, my circle's gotten a lot smaller.
Tell me that doesn't eliminate so many problems.
It's eliminated so many problems in my life. And I have men in my life, when I went through all the stuff with the divorce of my kid's mom, and I was drinking and doing all sorts of things I shouldn't have been doing, at that point in my life, I didn't have men really calling me out and telling me, and look, this is my fault. I'm not some victim to be like,
For sure.
I didn't have any men calling me out. No, but right now, my business partner and I, we check in with each other. Like, hey, I went out with a girl last night, and, this is what happened. And I was, and I'll be like, dude, I'm so proud of you, right? Like, we walk in the light with each other. Like, hey, man, I screwed up. This is what happened. And it's like, all right, man, yeah, you did. Let's pray about it. Let's talk about it. I have men in my life that sharpen me. Iron sharpens iron, that concept.
100%.
And before I didn't have that. So surrounding myself with people, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to walk in the light with you. So if I do something stupid, I'm going to tell you about it. If I mess up and sin, I'm going to tell you about it. And that's walking in the light, because we aren't going to make mistakes. But then when you have somebody that you could share that with, and they're going to not instill fear in you and tell you you're a piece of crap, but love you through it.
Accountability.
Yeah. But you can't have accountability without transparency.
For sure.
So you have to be able to be, that's the whole thing. The churches need to be accountable. Well, they have to start being transparent before they could ever be accountable. Period.
That'll never happen. Do you think, okay, kind of shifting back to our original conversation.
Great question. Great point.
Do you ever think that, I guess, one, what's the goal of the religion business?
Yeah.
And two, do you ever think that these churches are going to wake up? Or we're gonna force them to? I mean, is it?
So I think that Okay, I'll tell you what the ideal scenario would be. The ideal scenario, and then I'll answer your question. The ideal scenario would be that a few big, like, there's nothing to me more admirable than when somebody steps up and goes, hey, we've been doing this. Like, what's going on here? And, like, we've been treating this like a business, right? Like, this whole tithing thing and everything, like, we've been saying that and stuff, but like the reality of it is we were wrong on some things.
I respect that.
I would admire that so much and say, hey, like, this may hit our business now and such like that. But I do think that if a domino falls with a big church, somebody steps up, one of these big mega church pastors steps up and sees a light and says, I'm going to start walking the light. We're going to start being transparent financials. Listen, I'm not here to say, oh, you know what? Show them an audit from the last 20 years. No. Like, step up and start doing it right and call yourself out. Say you haven't been doing it the way, but now you're going to be transparent and all that. If we can because guess where the money's going to start going? It's going to start going to the people that are being transparent.
100%.
So until those things happen, they will never change as long as money's flowing in.
Mm-hmm.
They won't. Why would they change psychologically?
They're not doing anything illegal or wrong.
They're not doing anything illegal. And then how do you unwind this lifestyle that you have? How do you jeopardize the lifestyle, the private jets, multiple homes, the housing allowances, all the security that you have in your life, in your identity? How do you unwind that? That's a scary thing for a man to do. Is it possible? 100%. You just put yourself out there, put the step forward, and God will meet you in the unknown because God is the unknown. God's already been there. He'll walk you through it. But you have to have the courage to be able to do that. But you have to fear God first. And these guys don't fear God, because if they feared God, they wouldn't be spewing out, manipulating his word for their own inurement. They wouldn't be deceiving people. They wouldn't feel like they have to hide things all the time from their congregants and such. And so until they feel the financial impact. And so one of the goals of Broken Shepherds is that we put together transparent nonprofits, and that money begins to steer to people who want to be transparent, because our platform's only for people who want to be transparent. So if we can get enough mass on that and the money starts shifting towards transparent organizations, these other ones are going to stop getting fed, and they're going to start having to deal with, I have $300,000 in leases between all my satellite churches. I have all this money for that we have due for legal. I have all these expenses. I have all these cars I have to pay for. But that money's on it. Those systems will implode on themselves as long as if money stops coming into them. So divert the river to transparency. Stop feeding the darkness, and that's how it will change. And it won't change until that happens. And we're doing our best to try to change it.
For sure.
It's just a very, very hard thing. And it's one of those things where it will never change unless people begin to feel the impact. And then they will, at that point in time, they will implode or they will come over to the light. One of those two things will happen. But my hope is that a couple of the big churches start saying, you know what, we're going to do this right. We're going to be transparent. People are going to know how much I make. They're going to know the salaries. You want to know what? I make $1.5 million a year. I get a salary, a bonus, cars. My kids are on payroll. My wife's on payroll. Like, that's just the truth. And we've been operating like this, and I want to share that with you. And I get a housing allowance from you guys. That's $200,000 a year. And you guys paid for my down payment on my house. And guess that house is in my name, so I get the full benefit of it. If someone could step up there and just say that, I think they'd be surprised. Yeah, are they going to get some criticism? 100%. But are people going to go like, dude, I resonate with you? Because we're all broken. I hate using the word broken, right? Like in a sense of like, we're made right through Christ, but like we're all human. Yeah. And humans will damaged. And the reason why, like, my inspiration for my business is 1 John 1:7, which is, as we walk in the light, as he's in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Jesus Christ cleanses us from our sins. And so, and then earlier on 1 John 1:5, it talks about how God is light. In him, there's no darkness at all.
Yep.
And so God is light. So if we're going to say we're walking with God, we have to walk in the light, and we have to be transparent to the extent of what? Well, you're asking people for money.
Yeah.
You need to tell them how that money's being used. In what business sense?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to go invest in a publicly traded company, guess what data you have access to? Their financials, the audited ones, how much your CEO's making, all of those types of things. If you're going to invest in a private company, you're going to get a pitch deck with all this information. You know what you're investing in. Instead of like, yeah, you know what? I don't have to tell you, but you have to give me 10% of your money. I'm the storehouse, baby.
Yeah.
It's like,
that makes
really?
sense.
How does that work?
Yeah.
It's crazy, but like it's been operating this way. And as technology is colliding with old systems. This is an old system
For sure.
that has leveraged technology for the good, but technology is catching up with social media where they're now being exposed more.
Good.
I mean, if you look at the money that's come into religious organizations over the years, I mean, it's directly correlated to radio, jump, TV, jump, internet, jump, social media, jump.
Boost,
the access that you have to get into people's wallets is enormous.
Oh, for sure.
And then how do you want to get paid? Oh, you can give me real estate. You can give me stocks. You can give me your car. You can give me your credit card. You can ACH me. You can give me cash. I mean, everywhere. I'll tell you a funny story, and you'll get a kick out of this. So one of the churches that we ended up exploring in the religion business. So Nathan traveled the world, right? He was an action sports camera operator, filmmaker.
Yeah.
And so he would travel the world. And everywhere he went, he would go check out churches. Lazelle's of Brazil to Europe, to places in the United States, Mexico, you name it. He would go to different churches, and he wanted to see they're all about. So he's in Dallas, Texas, visiting his father out in the suburbs of Dallas. And so he's like, I'm going to go to this church. So he goes to this church, right? And it's a satellite campus of a large mega church. So this is how we ended up looking into this organization. We call it God giving us breadcrumbs.
Yep.
So he's in a rental car, and his Cadillac converter gets stolen while he's in church.
In the parking lot of the church?
In the parking lot of the church. So he starts calling the church and writing them saying, and he records all of this, and he's like, hey, like, I need the camera footage for my insurance company. Can you get that for me? No response. So he goes, you know what? I'm going to tell him I'm interested in donating. Tells him he's interested in donating. Within a split minute of time, he has all the information he needs to donate. Stocks, how like your estate, your will.
Talk about a breadcrumb.
Cryptocurrencies.
Churches are accepting crypto.
Oh gosh, they'll take any. A lot of them will take anything. They're smart. They're great businessmen.
Oh my God.
It's like, there's so many dollars out there, and we want as many of it as we can get. This is the same church with the Lululemon stuff I was telling you about earlier.
Okay, yeah.
And so, and so that he got that right, and so then he ends up calling them and contacting them. Then he starts doing due diligence, finds the housing allowance stuff that we were telling you about.
Mm-hmm.
Goes off to that, goes, and then writes them and says, "Hey, I want to talk to you guys about this housing allowance. I want to know what it is. This is what I knew what it was in 2004. Well, we got cease and desist, and then he finally said, "Hey, I'm showing up on Sunday." So he shows up on Sunday, and he's got the camera. Glasses,
yeah.
Yeah, so he walks in, and like literally within a second, a security guy sees him, spots him. And come to find out, they nicknamed him Hot Dog. They had his photo like in the security center saying, "This is Hot Dog. If you see him, like alert authorities immediately." And my business partner is not a violent person, and he didn't even bring camera crew inside. The camera crew was outside, so they threatened him, they kicked him out. Then he came back with 2 signs and was just hanging out in the parking lot, and they arrested him for, and the signs.
I've seen this.
Yeah.
Okay. This went viral.
It did.
Yes. Okay.
And the signs literally just said, like, what's your housing allowance and your salary to the pastor. And the pastor goes driving off, and he took offense to us calling it bulletproof, up armored. Range Rover, right? He comes flying off, like jumping curbs and stuff, escaping, like. And then went and told everyone that there was this psycho madman that came, you know, to the church this day and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, the dude had two signs, right? Like, let's relax a little bit on that. But yeah, that's the love of money, right? Avarice is the root of all evil. Money's not the root of all evil. The love of money is.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. What's the craziest stuff that you've uncovered that these pastors have bought with tithing money?
Okay, so here's a good one. I mean, I mentioned to you like $20 of real estate and such. So there's a pastor out in the Pacific Northwest, Justin Bieber's pastor, Judah Smith.
Okay.
So Judah's father started the church that they have up there in the Pacific Northwest. I mean, Russell Wilson was on the board of this and everything. Like, I mean, it's a very popular church. Judah's very charming and all that kind of stuff. So Judah's dad passes away, and there's like 80 some odd $1 million worth of real estate that the church owns at this point. So they decide to sell it, which again, you just need like the board's permission, I guess, you know, and such, but you pick your board.
100%.
Right? You don't want them on the board, you fire them. You pick your board.
100%.
So they sold off a bunch of the real estate, and nobody knows where
80 million?
Well, not all 80
Oh,
of it.
you said a lot of it. Okay.
They sold a massive chunk of
Enough.
it. And then there was a life insurance policy that was a key man policy that the church was supposed to be the beneficiary of. And then that money went somewhere that wasn't where it was intended to go, allegedly. And then there was all of a sudden, he's got a beautiful house in California. Then he's got a technology app that he's building. And then even with all that, there's a gap of several millions of dollars where no one knows where it went. But again, it's the dark web. It is church-owned real estate, and no one follows the money on where it goes. And he doesn't have a good answer for it. We called him, in fact, to talk to him, offered him an olive branch. And now we got a letter right back from his lawyer immediately on it.
Okay, so since you guys are kicking the hornet's nest of the religion establishment, what are some of the threats? What's the negative side for you guys? Because you're not just going after this little mom and pop church where the guy's driving a Mercedes and you're like, oh, okay, whatever. You're going after mafioso size establishments that are run like the mafia. Or, what falls back on you?
So I had Nathan and I got a message about a year and a half ago, and it was from a security team that just had resigned from a pastor.
What can you say? What pastor?
I'll tell you offline.
Okay.
Yeah. The only reason why I'm saying that is out of respect for the security team that contacted me.
Okay.
So the security team contacted us, and they were like, they were asked, I think the amount of money they were spending about $100,000 on hiring people to dig up a bunch of dirt on Nathan and I. And so they started digging up stuff on me, and they find out like I'm a successful businessman who's a war veteran, who's a father of 4 children and doesn't have a criminal record.
Yeah.
They're like, dude, we're not like, and these guys are veterans. So they had the veteran code. They were like, I am not going after one of my own.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was a discussion out there, and they asked him, they go, are you going to put a hit on me? And the pastor refused to answer that question. Now that's a pretty simple
yes or no.
Or how about just no?
No.
Yeah. Instead,
as a
refusing
pastor
to answer, and this guy was angry and he was pissed. So I got aggressively followed one day by a black SUV, and I had to dig back into my military skills training, but I knew exactly what was going on. So I had to get security, and I got like spikes on my fence and all that kind of stuff. I had to really take it very serious. So fast forward a few months later, it's early July, and we're at the premiere of The Religion Business. We're showing one of the episodes in a theater before its official release date, which is July 10th. And that pastor's right hand, who's also taking a housing allowance, nephew, was showing that he was friends with us, and that he wasn't with them and he was with us. But this dude literally had a notepad and was taking notes on who's there and who's not there, and what was being said, and is there anything damning about him in it? He was doing research.
Yeah.
He was a mole, and I knew he was a mole. And my security team's there. He comes up to me and is starts talking, asked me if I hated that pastor. This one that there was.
Did you know this was the nephew at this point, or
I
no?
did.
Oh,
I
okay.
did. And it asked me if I hated that pastor, and I say, no, I don't. I love everybody. I'm called to love my enemies. Oh, so he's your enemy? And he was like, that's a very disingenuous response on you're disingenuous. He starts insulting me like you don't love him. You actually hate him, and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, Matthew 5, I'm called to love my enemies. And so that's what I'm saying. And then he was like, yeah, you're disingenuous, blah, 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 blah. And I was just looked at him. I was like, you don't even know me. And he got a little, and then I had to go speak. So I left and fast forward, he starts talking to a lot of people about me, how much he despises me and all that. A few hours later, this is after the last screening started, he beelines to me and starts saying, you're a disingenuous piece of shit. You blah, 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 blah. And I just looked at him and I go, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Mm-hmm. I'll pray for you.
And then he was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry you feel that way. And then he came at me physically.
Really?
Yeah. And then one of my security guys stepped right in between us and such. And then wrote me the next day and said some nasty stuff to me and all that. But, having to deal with stuff like that. Nathan had a gun flashed out at him at Kenneth Copeland's property. I think it's episode 3. You'll see it.
Is that on the airport strip?
Yeah.
That's Nathan?
Yeah, that's Nathan.
That one,
dude,
that happened a while ago, didn't it?
Yeah. That was in the filming of season 1. So that was late summer of 24.
Oh, okay. I know where that security comes rolling up in like an SUV, jumps out,
like John Ritter,
trying to be all tough and pulls his little thing. Why does a pastor, one, have a private airstrip, and then armed to the gill?
Oh, the church paid for it.
Secret Service style security.
Mm-hmm.
And then these people, are these congregations like majority boomers? In some of these massive
boomers, as you know, or they're set, right? I mean, even if you look at like the current state, right? Like if you look at the generation, it's like, yeah, we should be in Iran. Like, let's get them all.
All the problems in this country right now, we can just go ahead and give that to the boomers.
Yeah.
But I'm being legit. Are these church? I feel with our generation, we're kind of waking up, but I feel these mega churches that have such a boomer audience, is that who's falling for this and not asking questions when their pastors rolling up in a G-Wagon?
Yeah, and they also have money, right?
So since they have money, they don't care.
Well, I mean, they have the money to donate.
Yeah,
in a sense, right?
Yeah.
But like, they're not. This, I know this sounds offensive, but they grew up without the tools and capabilities that your kids and my kids are growing up with, which is like cameras and videos and
everything's documented.
Everything's documented. And our generation is a lot more of a research heavy one, right? Because we grew up in an old school world and then now have all these capabilities, so we know both worlds. So we're doing a lot of that investigative journalism now and know the difference. But like, they don't do the research that we do. Mm-mm. So they're trusting in institutions, whether it's a religious one or not. And then who doesn't want to think that if they give money, they're going to be blessed tenfold? If you knew that if you input in any business, like, hey, you know what, Bam, you invest $100 in this, and guess what? You're going to get 1,000 back. You would do that all day.
Mm-hmm.
You do that all day. Like if I were to know that if I invest $1,000 for the religion business, and I know that I'm going to get $10,000 back, you would do that all day.
Yeah.
But that's not like from the heart.
Yeah.
That's straight up like money.
Yeah.
And you end up doing it for all the wrong reasons. And then when does it pan out? You're like, you didn't have enough faith.
100%. Then you get the narcissist
faith.
Christian that uses everything behind him to push it. Okay, I got a kind of a weird question for you, personal.
Mm-hmm.
Since you're attacking the religion mafia, is there a seed planted in the back of your head when it comes to your personal life? These women that you're dating, any people that are coming into your life, is there a side of you where you almost have to think everything is a plant from these churches? Because they have the ability to do whatever they want for you, to set you up,
100%,
walk you into a trap. Do you have to live your life like that? Does that suck?
It sucks. It sucks, but it's also a great reminder for personal accountability. Yeah. So like you use it as a weapon back to your own strength.
100%.
Yeah. And then again, it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, you're going to get me on something? Okay, fine.
Try.
Then I'll walk in the light on that too.
Uh-huh. Maybe
you should walk in the light and realize how ridiculous you are. But yeah, I mean that's James O'Keefe. We have a same coach and on the strength and wellness side, and he does a lot of that like and such. But like I'm not like dating dudes or women under 18 and all that kind of stuff. Like, but like he gets politicians like that.
That's why, because if they could just get one of you, then your whole entire establishment crumbles because then one of the pillars gets knocked out. That's why I think of it, because even with her and like this, because I'll go hard on Israel and shit on some things, which rightfully so. I that's my belief, and I live a life now, and I'm not even nowhere near what you guys are doing. But now I just look at everything. I was telling the wife about it. This woman walked in the gym not too long ago, and I looked at my buddy, and I literally told him, I go, she has to be AI. Like, it was just the way it was put together. I go, that is my exact words. That's the devil in the flesh. And she was just patrolling, doing her little peek. And I came home. I'm like, I feel like I got my first Israel plants because I was going hard at the time on it.
Yeah.
Like, they're trying to get me. So I even, there's certain times and scenarios where I'm like, yeah, no, someone's recording. There's something going on like this. Because I don't live my life in fear, but holding myself accountable. I have a community for men. I'm mentoring guys online and dads and husbands and all this stuff. So it's a self accountability check at the same time, because things that I used to fall for the trap years ago.
Yeah.
But you'd be like, oh shit, okay, I still got it. Now it's like, that's the devil in the flesh.
Very mindful of like, why are you asking me so many questions about this?
Right.
Right.
Do you get that often where you just, because obviously you meet a lot of new people, or is there certain questions when they ask it triggers, that's not a normal one? You don't have to tell me what they are, because I don't want anybody to know.
No. I mean, there's been a couple and stuff like that. I got like a weird question or something like that one time, and I was just like, I just like called them out on it, and I was like, that's a very like that's a question that like somebody would, like a plant would ask. I just straight up hit him with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, those types of things for sure. That's where it's at and all that. And that's why, like, I can't be like on dating apps and all sorts of things anymore. Right. Like those are just things that you just can't.
Especially with you guys are putting yourself out there like that.
Yeah.
It's worth it though.
Yeah. I
want to touch briefly and we'll wrap this up. I want to talk the kids stuff that you guys got coming on. I know we touched on it a little bit, but I live in this world, and my wife always has to check me on it, because especially kids online, games, how the way that the level of grooming, when it starts, how it's working. And I get this, we should know, we live in 2026. How do these parents not know that Roblox is run by pedophiles, all the traps and everything that's on there? From a father, from a dude that has built a career now of outing establishments and things like this. What are the things that is going on right now on the internet that are just kids are just falling for, or you're seeing the games? What's going on the kid side of things that you guys are uncovering?
So one of the biggest things is you used the word grooming earlier.
Okay.
So the best thing we can do to educate our children, what does grooming look like? Right?
We were huge on this.
Right. Somebody starts being friends with you. You feel like, oh, wow, I'm getting attention from, a camp counselor. I'm getting attention from somebody who's a big influencer, whatever it is. I'm getting attention from somebody. And then it starts off very innocent and kind of friendly. And then it escalates to something. So teaching your children what this grooming process is, we could say all day, don't get on this site. Don't do this. Don't do that. But no matter what in life, your children may face this grooming concept, and they need to be aware of what it is. So pour into them this concept of grooming.
And correct me if I'm wrong, the majority of children that are being groomed is from somebody that they know or close to the family, correct?
Correct.
Which is even more terrifying because we want to show our kids, hey, that's a creepy van, free candy. That's how we grew up. Don't ever get in a van. But that's not even what's happening anymore. It's all internet. It's all photos.
Yeah.
So I feel our generation is missing the curve. Okay, don't talk to strangers. It's not the stranger that we still always have to worry about the stranger.
So obviously strangers heavily on the internet, and then strangers being people that work in institutions that we've abdicated certain things to, like, for example, like a children's camp or Sunday school. I mean, you hear stories like crazy now, right? We're like, oh, the youth pastor.
These guys are catching these little vigilante chomo catchers.
Yeah.
How many pastors they're finding?
Yeah.
Cops?
Yeah.
Public figures?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And they're all why? Okay, here's a question.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it 14-year-old boys? Why is that the sweet spot? All these I don't know if you've seen a difference in numbers, but I'm big. I got a couple of them lined up to come on. These guys that are out catching the predators and they're beating the shit out of them.
They're preying on 14-year-old boys
every time. 14-year-old boy, young boys, and I feel the statistic of these teenage boys that are attacked more than anybody. It could just be because those are the guys I'm watching, but it seems like every time I see a predator getting caught, they're trying to meet up with a young teenage boy. Have you guys seen anything behind that?
So males tend to be, like, the statistics show that girls get abused more than boys do.
Okay.
But when it comes to like camps, it tends to be more boys than girls. Boys will also like keep it more in the vault than girls ever will. When you're a 14-year-old boy, like you want to be accepted by young adults or by adults, right? You're in that phase and stage of your life where you're more vulnerable to that. And such, and it happens often at camps, right? We talk about like Camp Kanakuk and such, where that's happening there. But I don't know. We're interviewing with this in this process, this like the mental psychologist side of this, because these are types of questions that we want to get answers to for the next episode. So that part's ongoing. I don't have a direct answer for that, but what I can tell you is one of the greatest targets and plays is getting boys and girls that are underage to take a photo of some sort of themselves.
Nude or just face?
Nude.
Start face? Okay.
Starts face and then ends up becoming topless and then everything else, right? It's a process.
Yep.
And when that happens, then they have something on you. Then they'll say, hey, like, if I don't get X dollars, I'm going to send this to your parents. I'm going to leak it to your parents.
Sextortion, right?
Sextortion. So then you have this child whose brain, think about this, is not even close to being developed, doesn't know what to do, is petrified that their parents are going to kill them, is petrified of all the embarrassment and this concept of that image of you is going to live on to eternity, and there'll always be a nude image of you out there. They end up killing themselves.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why suicide is so high in that area. And so we have to be able to wrangle this stuff in and be able to, like, I was in DC at Tim Tebow's hearing that he was doing.
Oh, I love. He's on my hit list. He's one of the few people on my.
Yeah, I love Tim. Tim's doing something noble, but Tim needs to not be afraid to piss people off because he's around people who are part of the system in these problems, and he needs to start calling people out, not just talking about a problem, but calling specific individuals and organizations out.
The problem.
And I'd like to see Tim do that more because he has
he's got a reach.
He's got a reach, and he's Tim Tebow.
Yeah,
everyone loves Tim.
I think Tim's problem is he's too Tim.
Yeah, Tim wants to be liked.
You can't in this world.
You can't. You can't.
What Tim needs to do is be the face, and he needs pit bulls that are executing, which he might. This is why he's coming to Boise soon. Actually, I've been emailing him, trying to get any attention that I can from him because I want to talk to him about this. But I think he's Tim Tebow, and here's the chart of all the people and the porn that's going on in the world. No, not in this world. There's when it comes to children, there's nothing in this. It is all out war. You need to be headhunting these people because they don't care. What they're doing to children, you can't come in and granted, he's got that perfect image, but that's where he needs his headhunters in there just going through and just lobbing heads off for his mission while he just stays the face of it. I love Tim, but it's like, bro, you got, especially if you're rubbing elbows with people that you know are participating in this or defending or passing laws and legislative bills that are helping protect these people. So no, we're not going to associate with those people moving forward because you're part of the problem.
He needs to be a little bit more feared than he is.
100%.
Right. And I mean, he gave a great pitch to Senator Hawley and several other senators, and the senators are all like, yeah, like we need to do something about this. Let's go. Let's do it. So I'm like, why on earth does this not make it through the House and Senate? And this is what I got told. It makes it through the Senate. But then when it gets to the House, it becomes quicksand. It's in quicksand. And these things don't get through. But again, it's like,
it's our children.
The billions of dollars to Israel every year somehow has no problem making it through. But the stuff with our children, it is such an undermanned area. And we have heat maps showing where child pornography is being distributed. Mm-hmm. And we can't do it. We're not doing anything about it.
See, that's where
or very little, I should say.
I mean, there's a new vigilante every week popping up on Facebook that are catching these predators. How do we not just build these task force where now it's a good Samaritan, right? Now it's the good Samaritan, which I know this can get really ugly and get into the weeds, but they're already doing it. They're already catching these predators at Walmart in the middle of the night.
And God bless those guys that are doing that. Mad respect, because they're filling a void in that the government's not filling.
That's where it's like, how do we build a task force instead of having cops that are harassing people over the dumbest shit, loud music in the middle of the day, whatever it may be? Hey, we got one. These guys got it.
Activate the National Guard and start kicking doors down and solving this problem. That's how we do it. That's the task force. The technology out there exists.
Yeah.
A lot of these, they don't have the funding to buy it. Like literally, I'm having a conversation with an ICAC officer.
What's an ICAC officer? People.
Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. They're the ones telling you monitoring the internet, the CSAM, all that kind of stuff. Gets a case. He's having to turn the case down. Why? He doesn't have a $350 hard drive, man. Like, are you kidding me? So the victim's father is the one that bought him the hard drive.
Oh, my God.
The forensic computers. You ask them, go, hey, how many more cases could you work on if you had this new forensic computer? I mean, they would be 4 or 5 times more efficient. Okay. Then they can't add manning unless they have financially secured 2 years worth of the full overhead cost of that employee. But they're it's not going up. And then these guys are overworked, overtasked, underappreciated, and they're fighting Goliath with a $40 million a year less than that budget. And meanwhile, divvied out across over 50 of these places.
Yeah.
And we're over here sending $75 billion overseas and fighting all these wars, worried about everyone else. Meanwhile, our children are suffering. So if you want to get militaristic, activate the National Guard. I'm waiting for one governor to do it. And I'll tell you the governor I think is going to be. He's a mentor and a dear friend. His name's Victor Marks.
Dude, I love Victor.
So he's the leading candidate for governor of Colorado for the Republicans. All right. And he'll be the first one that'll get the stuff done. But Victor, they'll tell you, okay, part of the reason why because he's got a All Things Possible Ministries. All Things Possible Ministries also has Protecting Children's Innocence Task Force. And so they're on Broken Shepherds. Protecting Children's Innocence Task Force, so All Things Possible Ministries, Victor and his team, they'd go overseas, kick doors down, rescue people, crush bad guys, get those kids out, extract them. And his wife is the best. And she'd go to Iraq with him, rescue children.
Mm-hmm.
And she would be loving on these kids and making sure that they get in good hands and all the sorts of stuff. So the PCI, the Protecting Children's Innocence Task Force, was stood up because in the United States, the vigilante thing, like they don't have the government authority to do things. Like if you are perceived that you are doing like police type work in this space, the whole case can go south. So we need real law enforcement. So they stood up so they could support the law enforcement people, train them, buy them equipment, buy them technology so that they can do their jobs better to help, because this is a void that the government's not filling. So they're filling it. But I think Victor might be the first governor that'll do that. I want one governor to activate the National Guard, and I'm not saying he's going to do that, but I want him to activate the National Guard and go after every pedophile ring, go after every single thing in your state, and then you'll start to see the dominoes fall.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
hopefully we pull our head out. I mean, everybody's right now all in up and, oh my God, Idaho just brought back the firing squad. Cool. I don't care. Let's pass some laws that we start catching these pedophiles, these guys that are in here and they're creating the AI images, everything that's going on. And that's, Victor, that dude, good for him.
Yeah.
God bless that man, because
really,
from his childhood story, I followed him. I messaged him a while ago when we were little, like not even to come on the show, just as a, wow. Like, I don't even know how I stumbled across you, but that is the epitome of just God's work right there. And I'm glad you guys are teamed up with that. And it would be cool to see him. But I mean, if we're going to be passing the firing squad here,
you should try to interview him.
I would.
All right. Why don't we talk offline and such? I mean, you may I don't know if you can come out here, but if you're willing to go down to,
I'll fly him out here. I don't give a shit, dude. To get Victor. Oh my God.
I mean, he's running for governor too. So a platforms where he can have this like real conversation about all this stuff and ask him straight up, like, what is your plan?
I would love to. This is the realest conversation he's going to have with anybody.
I talk to him all the time. So
man, he is one of those guys. I stumbled across one of his episodes and just been consumed by him, followed everything, and just good for him. You know, that guy, he's making a difference, but it's just so sad. It's so frustrating as somebody that I would die for somebody else's children, protecting them. That is the type of person who I wouldn't even I see that thing going around on the internet. Would you die for your children? I am murdering everybody in my way that is harming somebody else's children.
You were willing to die for...
I'm willing to die for my country and all these strangers. You don't think I'm going to protect a child?
You were willing to die for Lindsey Graham, baby.
You say it like that. when you word it like that.
Well, that's not what we thought at the time.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a funny
Weapons
story.
of mass destruction, right? Hearts and minds.
So in 2004, when I won Air Force Cadet of the Year, I was invited to then President George W. Bush's office. So I got in the Oval Office, and I mean, you talk about drinking the Kool-Aid at the time.
Oh,
right.
We all
so
did.
we're now in Iraq, and we're now in Iraq. We'd already been in Afghanistan. I hadn't gone yet to Iraq, but even when I was in Iraq, I mean, I was drinking major Kool-Aid. And I told him, I said, I thank God every night, Commander in Chief, and I meant that. And I look back at him, I'm like,
what a loser.
You're either one of the most low IQ presidents of all time, or you're evil, or maybe both.
Probably both. They're all plants, but it is what it is. I got one last question. Back to the churches. If our future if our future of I'm just going to use Christianity in this because that's how I can relate to this. So the future of hold on, let me think how I can word this. If the future of Christianity is built around mega churches, and now these mega churches are putting the mom and pa churches, I feel, out of business because they just cannot compete.
Yep.
So now we have this Amazon, Walmart structured church that is killing small businesses, aka little churches.
Yep.
What's the future of our church, the church status in this country?
This goes back to your faith being your own, reading the Bible, having your life be church, meaning the way you live your life, that every person that you talk to, 2 or more are gathered in my name, I am there. Mindset. It has to go back to that. It has to go back to having a direct relationship with God through the way, the truth, and the life, which is the only way to the Father, which is Christ, who died on the cross. That right there, that mindset, you have to have that, because if you keep thinking, we as society keep thinking, we need this, we need to go to this big box church on Sunday, and we need to do this, and we need to give our 10%, you're just continuing to feed the machine versus like, what can I do for my local community? What can I do for my brothers that are in here? Like, there's a guy that's got a home churches are growing rapidly as well too. So a good friend of mine lives in Ohio, West Point grad, Army Ranger, infantryman, just a stud. This guy, his father-in-law had started a home church network, and then while he was in the military, he was starting home churches at every base that he was at.
Cool.
And he reached out to me, and he was like, "Hey, like you were just talking." He's like, "Community, like, hey, like, there's opportunities to help. There's a family who's wanting to adopt a child, and they need funds. They're within our community and such like that. Like, those are like the types of opportunities that come from the community." There was somebody in his in the community that had gotten like sex gender transitioned, and I think like the churches in America have turned their backs so much on people who have fallen into LGBTQ stuff. We're not over here saying like, "Oh, you did the right thing. You cut your thing off." No. It's like, this person's still a human. This person's
and they're hurting.
They're hurting so badly.
I'm with you on this.
And so that community is rallying around this person and showing this person love and talking to them about Christ and introducing Christ to them. And something beautiful is going to come out of that, but we need more of that.
It doesn't mean you're going to support it. I'm not backing what you stand for because it's against everything I stand for. But at the end of the day, if you're going to consider yourself a Christian, I won't, like I said earlier, they're on their shelf for me. But at the end of the day, if they had a question and you could answer that to maybe start thinking, hey, you are worth more than what you've been lied to about, how you're confused on what you're thinking. That's all being so far pulled from God. That's why. And so then you look at these, I guess we're gonna have to save it for a whole other conversation, but that's my problem with Christians. Christians are the ones that push me so far away from Christianity.
The word religious, it's funny.
I hate the word religious.
Yeah. So people ask me, they're like, "Oh, you seem religious," and I'm like, whoa. I'm not religious, because like, I'm a little more patient than that. I'll be like, hey, "What's your definition of religious?"
For sure.
And then they'll be like, "Oh yeah, like you're a churchgoer and and stuff like that." I'm like, I don't go to any institutional church. Like, my life is like church. This is like my mindset. Yeah. And I have men that I talk to daily that we talk about scripture, and we meet weekly and we talk about scripture, and we talk about, we talk about what's going on in our lives, what we're facing, the temptations that we're facing,
it's pretty awesome.
How we failed and all that. Yeah. And men need that, right? Men
100%.
Men really need that. That's what makes men better, is being able to walk in the light with other men.
100%.
And sadly, oftentimes men get burned with that. I've been burned with it. I've confided about stuff going on in my life, and the next thing you know, I find this guy's going around telling people about stuff that's going on in my life, and I'm
Group community. You talk to a bunch of men, and then they're all telling their wives, and then all the wives know it, and then they know it, and then that's where
Yeah.
I'm like, God, why can't I just find other men that just are, hey bro, we're here to help. Hey, I want to better myself. Hey, I have questions that I need answers for, and I'm here for it. I don't need the gossip. I don't need titles and positions. I just need community. And that's been the hardest thing. I literally had to start my own community and then build the men inside of it to have what I wanted, because I would go to these groups and community, and then I'd sit, and then you almost get like judged and all. And I'm sitting here going, I'm the only veteran in here, and they're all looking at me because I'm telling my testimony. Now I look like they're judging me. That's why I go back to how Christians are the ones that have driven me and keep me so far away from the establishment of church and everything, just because of how we let our flesh get. But it's so hard to find those ones and twos, quality ass men that you could sit down and be like, yo, dude, I'm struggling. They'd be like, me too. All right, how do we get through this? And that just, I feel as a society, we've been so groomed to not be those guys anymore. But to me, that's the most alpha shit you can do. Besides following God, is the most alpha thing that you can do. Finding that community, which is so hard.
Yeah. Question for you on this note. How many denominations do you think we have in Christianity?
150, 200?
44,000.
I was holy shit! I could have been farther off.
44,000 denominations.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Oh, sorry, continue.
No. I'm just. But this is the point. Is like that I'm trying to make is there are so many denominations out there because everyone's trying to be a little bit different.
Yeah,
and messing up the simple message of Christ, right?
So how do you feel about Orthodox? And have you looked into the Orthodox Church in this journey?
Not so overall in this journey, when we look at like the bigger denominations, they have fewer financial ambiguities because they have so many levels of checks and balances. There's a lot of systems built around that, right?
Okay.
Not to say like Catholic Church, for example. I mean, they were using donor money to pay off victims.
Well, yeah, the Catholic Church, I believe, is still Rome that never truly fell, and it is run by Satan. That is my belief on the Catholic Church.
Well, yeah, and this concept of like, why would I call another man father? And then calling the Pope the Holy Father. I'm like, no, that's
there's
God.
only one.
Yeah,
there's only. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you guys can at me on that one later in email, but yeah, no.
Yeah, and the same thing. So my kid's mom's Catholic.
Yeah,
and I was raised Catholic, and I made a decision and this is when my faith wasn't my own, and one of the regrets I have in my life is yeah, it's fine. Like we all worship, worship the same God, and we believe in Jesus Christ and all of that. So like, yeah, as long as it's in that ballpark, that's fine. But as I've grown up spiritually and matured, it's like I was pushing back on this. This is after our divorce. I'm pushing back. I'm talking to my kid's mom, and I was like, hey, like, I'm going to talk to, I need to talk to the church. I need to talk to somebody out there. And she was supportive of it. Go talk to him. But I was like, maybe I didn't realize this growing up Catholic. I was reading my daughter's script before she went into her first reconciliation. Okay. And she's going in there and she says her part, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned, and it's like, forgive me, Father. Are you talking to God the Father? Or are you talking to this guy?
Because that ain't your father.
Because that ain't your father. Right?
It's him, and then I come in second.
Yeah, I'm your earthly father, and I will fail you. Yeah. That God never will.
Let me hear
that Father never will.
We're not praying to no Father.
And so then this line got me. I hereby absolve you of your sins. And I'm like, whoa.
So your daughter's saying that to him?
The priest, the father, is telling my daughter, I hereby absolve you of your sins. And I'm like, you absolve me of my sins? The way, the truth, and the life, Christ, the cross, that story? Isn't that how I'm absolved of my sins? You're telling me I'm hereby absolved? Who are you to say I'm hereby absolved of my sins?
Mm-hmm.
And then I started asking all sorts of questions like, hey, is anyone monitoring how long they're in there for? Is there an opposite sex person in that private room where they're being extremely vulnerable with some man? I'm like, let me tell you how it works. Is he has an entourage of people that walk in him. He's all colored up. He's on an elevated platform. He has somebody opening up the book for him.
On his pedestal.
and we think that like men, like these many men don't really get married. Like there's something off here. Like God designed us to procreate and marry. Now, granted, there are men that are designed not to, like, and all that. I get that, but I had a lot of issues, a lot of issues with that, because we go back to this concept of like the Melchizedek priesthood, which we're in, versus the Levitical priesthood, which is, you know, having the high priest go in there and stuff. Christ is our high priest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need anybody to tell me I'm hereby absolved of my sins. I don't need that. I have a relationship directly through God, with God through Christ. And because of that, I don't need all this noise. And if we can cut all that out, life gets a lot simpler.
Oh my God.
And our faith becomes our own, you know, and it's not like, well, what does the pastor think about this? You know, it's like, I don't know. Why don't you ask God what he thinks about it? Because you can.
Yeah.
You can ask him directly.
Or you haven't even talked to the pastor once and you belong to this church because you can't even see him.
Or you haven't read the Bible, so you don't even know what he's saying. You're going there to get a Cliff Notes version of what's in the Bible, and your ears tickled a little bit, and you feel really good about going.
Till next week.
Till next week.
That was a big thing for me. I was one of those people for a long time.
Same.
Long time. I would, like I said, go in, I'd feel it, sweat, irritate. Okay, talking about me, and then I'd go out and be like, okay, yeah, that was a good one, and then right back to it. And then you know when it changed everything? When I bent the knee and started praying.
Yeah.
And my wife, she says it all the time. You'd be one of those nights getting your head lobbed off. You'd never bend the knee to anybody. I'm like, never. And then the only person, her, occasionally, she'll win. As soon as I bent the knee, that's been in my biggest battles is my pride. I still have that pride in me for other things. And I'll give it all to God. Here's the steering wheel, buddy.
Yeah.
Let's get through this.
Yeah.
I got us in a pickle. But that's been one of my biggest, my come to Jesus moments of surrendering. And you always hear it. And as this man, surrender. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
What does it? Okay, cool. Okay, God, I believe in you. Cool. All right, surrender. Until I got to that moment. You know how it is.
Yeah.
You get to that moment where there's nothing else. There's nothing left. Okay. I'm going to get on my knees and I'm going to do this. Just snots all over the bed. My wife's crying. I don't even know why she's crying because I'm crying. I'm just being able to the best therapy session of my life. And that's why I tell a lot of these guys, because I'm far from having the word and the scripture and being able to refer to things. And these guys will ask me, and I'm like, dude, just start with a conversation. It scared me for so long. It's so awkward. It's like, I tell people, leave a voicemail for God. Just leave a
Never heard that before.
Leave a voicemail for him.
Yeah.
Because I'm not one of these, dear Heavenly Father, please. I don't have a routine. There's sometimes this is kind of off topic, but this is just who I am. Like my brother's dying on his deathbed, and I'm cussing in my prayer. And that's where I'm not proud of it. That's one of those things I'm like, okay, God, clean my mouth. It's been really hard. I'm surprised I've only dropped like probably 2 F-bombs, maybe 3 on this episode, because I cuss a lot. That's one of those things okay, God, just take it from me. I don't need it. It's still there. But just in conversation and being able to be who I am, and I'll talk, I'm like, fucking, hey, God, come on. Like, I don't know why I'm falling into this. Why did I get pulled in?
But you're not cussing God out.
No.
You're expressing your feelings to God. And if you read Job, I mean, Job is expressing his feelings towards God, but in the end, the big lesson is like, how do we we're not God. We didn't create the heavens and the earth. Like, his justice is perfectly just, but we're too used to living on earth, and seeing everything black and white. But Job was a man of God, and I encourage people to have those conversations with God. I'm hurt. I feel betrayed. I feel lost, but I'm not giving up my faith in you. I love you. Just help me. Show me the way. Show me.
Yep. I love that.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude.
Dude.
We're going to end on that. All right. I'll talk to you I got to shut up. I'll be talking I'll talk to you.
That was a good chat, man. I'm glad it